Okay, let's call this a special meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Weir.
Here.
Costello.
Present.
Vader. Wilson.
Here.
Snyder. Ramirez. Here. Morris.
Here.
Okay, primary agenda is the budget. So we'll start it off with the treasurer. Bueller.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, tonight we are here to discuss the proposed FY 2023 budget. This budget, as I stated in the last council meeting, works with an equalized tax rate. And how we came to that equalized tax rate is by removing the commercial improvements, as we all know in town, the three major ones. So the equalization is being done to the residents. The increase you do see in the budget when it comes to the real estate is actually due to the new commercial properties assessments. We'll start with the revenue side on the proposed budget in front of you. At any time, if we come to a line item that you guys do want to discuss, please let me know though, so we can make sure we address it. First of all, is everyone in the understanding how we came to the equalization rate, and is there a desire to see that differently, or are we going with the 0.117 per 100?
Well, from the initial packet that I got, I did not see the difference to understand what the impact was to our citizens when it came to the equalization rate, or if we kept the rates the same. So I'd like you to discuss what the difference in impact was on average household.
Okay, so on the average household, the impact of that was, we went from paying almost 100, going from last year you would be paying $60 more in annual fee to almost 100, 110. So there was a huge change on the average. If it were being more specific, certain homes in Green Hill, of course, took a blunt of it, as well as some of the single-family homes. They definitely took a bigger portion of it. If it's something you want to see more details, I can give you a breakdown on the next budget discussion without getting specifics, too specific. But yes, the impact, though, I do have a scenario of what it would be if we did change that rate. So by removing the commercial improvements, the increase from last year's assessment was actually 14.57%. These were driven mainly by, I don't know if
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I ask is because, talking with Ann, Councilperson Ann Wheeler for Prince William County, I'm getting hit hard. I'm looking at 1,000 tax just for Prince William County alone. I want to see the reliefs that we're offering here, as opposed to if we tried to stick tight to what Prince William County was doing. And I do think that we are looking at least a $60 release, but I think it's going to be more across the board for what we're looking at here in the town of Haymarket.
you got to also remember, though, with the county taxes, you are paying different taxes aside For the town, it's just a real estate. For the county, you're paying a fire levy tax. Of course, your property tax, it's not just the real estate in your tax bill, if you see the breakdown. So I'm not privy to the conversation in Wheeler, you said. But if it's just, she's talking solely about real estate, there's different ways of looking at it. But overall, yeah, with the county, the residents are getting hit hard, especially with the assessments on the vehicles. But I believe the county is also addressing it by actually reducing, they're not equalizing, but they are reducing the rate even more.
Thinking about it?
I think that was a discussion that they had. Initially, they started with a 1.05. I think now they went down to a 1.03. I believe that would on an average, that brought the homeowners increase from 372 to a little bit over, closer to 200.
That's on average, right?
Yes, on average. But as far as how much, I can work up with the scenario, have it ready for you guys to see. In the next meeting.
Well, I just want to make sure that we consider what the taxpayers are seeing, right? As opposed to what we're trying to adjust to, as well as adjust to the expected expenses that we're seeing in town. Make sure that we understand that, at least in my opinion, I understand the impact that we're seeing. Prince William County's hitting me hard, and that we're trying to make sure that we're trying to adjust to what is needed for the town without us getting hit, double hit by the town, right?
Roberto, I think that the intention of equalizing it, from what I understood, was that we were trying to keep it as close to a small, if any, increase as possible from last year. So hopefully the out-of-pocket expense towards the town is as close to what it was last year as possible.
That is correct.
Okay.
Actually, the only properties that are the actual revenue you're seeing, though, are due to the newer properties that were not part of the assessments last year. So essentially, in theory, the increase is being paid by the commercial improvements, not the town resident. By using this equalized rate of 0.117 on an average, town of residents should probably see between a $20 to $30 increase annually. That's a whole year. And that, I mean, is plainly due to the fact that their assessments are increasing. But that is as close as we could get them to, without having to go to every individual parcel to create a whole different tax line for every specific home.
So you have taken the increase in assessment price into consideration when you suggested this new rate?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have concerns with the adjusted revenue that we're looking at?
Silence.
Good. I just wanted to try to highlight the impacts that we were seeing.
So, if I may, if I can ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you looking for us to show, like, do a sensitivity analysis here of what it would be if it were a higher rate, if we didn't equalize it, so that we can show what the delta is, so people can understand what the savings is associated with that?
Yeah, I would like to address a sensitivity issue because, like I said, I already know I'm getting hit $1,000 more.
We're all getting smacked.
Yeah. And I want to make sure that people understand that we are trying to adjust to the smack that Prince William County is putting out there make sure that we try to be judicially, fiscally.
I just did some quick back of the envelope, and it's gonna save, on average, save being a relative term, something like $78 or $80 a household.
This is, yeah.
Yes, this particular aspect. That's without getting into the later discussion we're gonna have about real estate refunds.
Yeah, and expenses that we foresee
Yeah.
impacting this.
Personally, I think it's very helpful to do what we can for the citizens, residents of the town. Just from memory, when I got it's not a bill, but my projection for my real estate, and they're very similar folks in my neighborhood and other neighborhoods in town, it's a 30% increase in 2 years, 30%. And over last year, it's almost 17%.
Yeah, over the numbers I ran, because I did some spot checking throughout the various neighborhoods, and for the single-family homes alone, whether it be in Green Hill, Haymarket Station, your neighborhood, the villages, you're looking on average somewhere between an 11 and 1,200, if not more, increase in actual tax year over year in the last 2 years combined.
We're just talking the real estate, though.
Just the real estate tax. That doesn't.
We're not even talking
We're not even
the
talking fire
personal
levy,
property.
gypsy moth, personal property
Which
tax.
is still protected.
Yeah. And now,
So, in my opinion, if we can bring some relief, I think we should do it, because
more relief than the data centers are bringing us.
Ba-boom, boom.
And the question is, are we starving ourselves for other things?
No.
And I don't think we are. I think we've been very frugal. I think the staff has been extremely frugal this year. And I think that gives us an opportunity, as we will discuss later. Plus, we have this windfall that we can utilize in the ARPA funds that can help us out here as well, get some stuff done. So if we can kind of ease the burden on some folks in town, I think we should do it.
Yep, and that's the main focus that I want to be here for the income is, are we equalizing appropriately? And I think you did a really good job, Roberto, equalizing this. I just want to make sure that everything is available and transparent. And,
So what's the discussion? It seemed like you're saying the same thing that Roberto just put together.
yes,
So we just need to get it on record that we're doing it?
I am just trying to make sure we get on
When we
record.
adopt the rate, that will make it. When we adopt the
When
rate
we
by
adopt the
vote,
rate, I
that
wanna
will-
make sure
will
that-
set it in stone.
I make sure that we look at the equalized rate.
Yeah,
And to
it
make
seemed
sure
like we
that-
spent 20 minutes talking about, everyone talking about the same thing, conferring with exactly what Roberto has put in place and presented to us 4 weeks ago. So is it just that we need to get it on record that we're doing our best for the
Yes.
residents?
I think we just did that.
Yes,
And
Just
we can move on.
indulge.
I'm just yeah. Okay,
Okay.
now let's get to, I guess, everything else.
Yes, okay. By the end of this meeting, though, I do hope that council can come to an agreement so we can move forward with announcing the tax rate, the public notice concerning the real estate. So please keep that in mind while we discuss.
Already advertised the rate?
We have not, because
Okay.
we are waiting for tonight to discuss it, to make sure that council as a whole are okay with this going forward.
The equalized rate,
.117.
.117? Okay.
Okay. Going down to the other local taxes. So this year will be the first year that we will have the transient occupancy tax for a full year. This proposed budget shows that. How we got to this number is that the meeting with the hotel, 3 million is what they have estimated as their gross receipts, and they think that 95% of the 3 million would actually be from the hotel charge, the room charges. We want to be a little bit more conservative, so we're actually going to do about 80% of that, and that's how we came to an estimate of 168,000 that we will be receiving from the hotel across. The bank stock, this is going by the trends. We only do have only one bank in our jurisdiction, so 24,000 is around where it would be come in. The business license tax, we increased it, and as you can see on the actuals on the updated numbers in front of you, we are right now at $171,000, and we still have about 2 weeks to go. I can tell you that the businesses have shown an immense increase in their gross receipts this year compared to last. We were very conservative last year, especially due to COVID at the time, and unsure of what was going to happen, if we're going to go back to restrictions or whatnot. They are definitely trending at a higher scale, similar to pre-COVID. So that's what
We're
we
also adding new peephole generators.
correct. So we're adjusting that accordingly. Cigarette tax, we will keep that about. I'm not making any changes on that. If anything, I would recommend doing a 5% decrease. In the past, that's what the cigarette tax board has done. But this year, to be honest with you all, the monthly revenue sources have been a little bit
Inconsistent.
consistent is a good word, all over. So I would like to try to keep it at the same for expectations, but if we have to, that's something that I would watch throughout the year if we need to adjust. The consumer utility tax, we're keeping that the same just due to trends. It's around that marker, 158. Meals tax. This one, as of right now, you guys can see we're at 687, 64, 63 cents. And we are still collecting meals taxes currently. So for next year, I definitely wanted to bump it up. And this budget at the time, I bumped it up to 975,000. If we're going the way we're going, though, most likely it will definitely be over that next year, probably in this year. But that, again, I like to be conservative on. But if you do want to, discuss it, we can. This is also taking into account the new restaurant and the future brewery that should be opening up in town. The sales tax, those have been coming in really high. So that's going back to adjusting it to what it's currently trending. Do we have any questions on those local taxes line items? Okay. The application fees, we bumped that up a bit due to transit, especially because now we're starting to see movement with developers, and we're anticipating with Crossroads coming in next year, we'll see a lot more applications being submitted. The motor vehicles, that is the annual decals. Well, not annual, but the permanent decals we have. That's just about an average of where people are at, considering that we are having new developments come in, new townhomes. We wanted to just keep that consistent. The other permit applications, that was adjusted a bit because now that we do have pass-through, meaning that there's some permits and some inspections, we pass it on to the contractor or homeowner. So we don't really consider that as revenue, it's more as just a pass-through. So that's why we lowered the revenue on that. The fines, as you guys can see, it's been declining through the past couple of years. And though I know there's some council that wishes we had a zero there, it is very apparent though we do get some revenue sources there. So, best practices, I just want to have what we currently are showing and trending. So we did reduce it.
I'm not gonna die on that hill, but I prefer it to be a zero, but that's just me.
Hey, Roberto, can we just go back for a second
Yes, sir.
to the motor vehicle licenses?
Yes.
Are we still charging 25?
No,
How much?
we are charging 15.
15.
We are actually one of the cheaper localities that charge, and it's a permanent one-time only. In fact, if we have residents, as Ms. Kim and Emily can attest, we pretty much are starting to get to know everyone that when they do purchase new vehicles, they come in and they only pay $1 transfer fee. If they can bring in their old receipt, even if it's ripped up or whatnot, and they can prove that they've been here, we honor it and just charge them $1 to transfer that decal, and it's a permanent. Unlike other jurisdictions where it's an annual renewal, we do not do that.
If I scrape it off my windshield and I bring that in, would that work?
Yeah, yep. That's all we need. Just destroy it, and we'll attach it to the application. So if anyone were to question it, we have some proof that as to why.
I mean, I just did a quick run on the number, right? $15 for new people, new folks, if you had one vehicle. We're talking 117 new units perhaps next year, right? So that would be about $1,800 right off the top. So-
Assuming some aren't military or
Right.
otherwise.
Exceptions and exemptions and what have you.
exceptions are
So, I mean, I think that's a good number. I just wanted to make that comment.
Okay. Okay, moving down to the interest. We are reducing, so we are keeping the VACO VML investment one, but this is gonna come up for discussion.
Right now,
In fact, so, VML VACO, the town currently has long-term investments. It's been invested prior to me being here. And the initial investment the town had done with this investment group was $300,000. Since I've been here, historically, it's positive. Last year, we ended, I think, at $331,000. Obviously, now we're down to about $320,000 as the last reimbursement. The investment is 1 to 3 year high-quality bonds. I had a meeting with the representatives this week, a Zoom meeting, to discuss it, and obviously because of where the rates are at, the bonds are taking a hit. In the conversation, though, we had spoke about maybe what other avenues or opportunities we can have, considering that we did opt to do the one-time allowance for the ARPA funds, trying to get ideas where to present council options as to where we can invest that funds. In the initial 320 we have there, there's a possibility, there's an opportunity to stay within the same investment group, VML VACO, but just move the funds into a shorter term, less volatile type of account. I had spoken to Martin to confirm if this is something I had to, as a treasurer, is it something I could initiate, or do I have to bring up to council before for the directive? And obviously, I do need to talk to council as a whole. Before we go forward with that discussion, though, I do want to give the opportunity to our current bank institute, because we do have bank franchise, and they do offer us a higher percentage rate, but depending on how much we keep there. Obviously, with the ARPA funds, considering to keep it with them, it's because it is a short term. They offer a very close competitive rate, a 0.42 versus the 0.45 we have currently with Virginia National Bank. But I do want to give the opportunity to talk to the bank here, because we do, as you all know, the bank franchise tax is also built from that, so we could potentially see on the back end more funds if we keep it here. But again, it's going to be a more short-term versus a long-term investment, because the plan is to use the funds to, address CIPs, the sidewalk, the town center project, any future endeavors that the town wants to work on. So I will come back to this by the next meeting with some of the options and see what council would decide would want for me to do with that current account. Right now, though, just historically, the town is still in the positive. it's paper loss right now, but we still don't want to continue losing the amount of money that we are losing right now.
So we're really just redirecting, what you're proposing is redirecting the investment
Correct.
within.
And I'm just trying to figure out if it's, because it is a short term, because the plan is to use the ARPA funds within, once council decides what projects to tackle. Obviously, we have the park sidewalk, and once, that starts to get going, that money will be used. So I don't want to tie up the money as well, into some long-term type of account. And the stable liquidity account that they are offering is actually meant for that. In fact, talking to the investors, they stated that some of the other localities are doing similar things, looking to put in the money there so they can get a higher interest rate, but very short term. So definitely want to come back to you guys with options, so y'all can discuss.
I personally don't care which option he does, but we need to get it out of that bond market.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're still in bonds. I mean, the municipal bonds have been deemed junk for at least 2 years, probably 3, and we're just bleeding off our reserve if we don't move it. I don't know who put it in bonds in the first place. I sure as hell wouldn't have. But let's move it to something that's at least, although it may not generate a lot of revenue, it'll generate something other than a loss. I mean, we're not negative yet, but we leave it in there, it's only a matter of time, especially with the inflation rate going the way it is right now.
I mean, if it's something that council desires, I could start initiating the move at least within the own institute, VML VACO, to move it to convert it into a stable liquidity account, which is the account that has a higher interest rate. But I could see what the cons and pros about doing it right now, versus keeping it.
If it's going to save us some money in the short term, which I suspect it will, given the annual and the monthly decreases, I would suggest moving it to that stable account within VML right now, and then look at our options of either maintaining it there as a reserve account that's harder to tap into, or sweeping it into the bank in town, whereby we would increase not only the interest rate marginally, but we would also then recoup bank franchise taxes on those holdings. We'd be getting bank franchise tax returns from the state on our own money, so it's almost like an additional interest rate. But in the short term, I'd love to sweep it out of that bond tomorrow.
Chris?
Thank you, sir. So, VACO, initially we invested 300,000?
So initially, I had to go back and research it through the financials, but yes, I believe in 2012 is when No, was it before that?
It was 14.
14?
Yeah.
Initially, that's where they opened the account, and the town opened the accounts, invested 300,000. Since then, obviously it did well for a while, but historically, the past 2 years,
It was a good investment.
it was a good investment.
Oh, heard that, Bob?
At the time,
I
the
don't
past
want
2
to
years.
get
yeah.
out.
Yeah, well, okay, but the council then voted it was a good investment, and now as we move, we're seeing trends that we're losing now, and instead of
Yeah.
taking it out at 300,000, now we have the opportunity to move. But you mentioned 0.42% for Virginia National Bank?
So, the Virginia National Bank, if you recall, when we moved the accounts over, they offered us at anything, $1 million would give us a 4.5. It started at 4.0, but then at 4.5, and if we do 2 million, it could move up to 5. I need to go back to them because that bank has changed. Everyone that used to be there is no longer there. The bank manager is no longer there, and neither the other two associates. So I need to reach out to them to talk to the new bank manager and see if that's still the case. The bank accounts there, though, are a money market versus these would not be a money market. We're able to move the money as we need it. They're more a short term with VML VACO. And that would start off at 4.2, but with the pro on it is there's no minimum. Versus over here, we have to have a minimum of $1 million to get the 4.5, and with VML VACO, no minimum. So if we were to move the money over, we automatically start getting the 0.42, and as interest keep increasing, it will increase.
If it's okay with the rest of the council, it seems like it's the best direction to take it out where it is right now and put it into a short term with vehicle. But is there a penalty?
That is what I would want to confirm with them, make sure what the con is to do that, if we were to do that now. But I could get that information back to you guys tomorrow. I could get on the phone with them and see what it is.
Is there a penalty, and then is there a duration, a limit? You know, how long do you have to keep it in there with VML Baker
Right.
too?
Yeah.
That's the other question. But frankly, I'm a little perturbed. When we initially did that investment, it was a good investment at the time.
What was that?
I said it was a good investment. at
Oh,
the
sorry,
time.
just want to get it on record.
And it wasn't only just the quantitative issues, it was the qualitative issues of having somebody that could help us with funding if we so wanted to do so, right? Professionals that do that for a living. So that's the other side of it, you know, the softer side of investing with VML Baco. Now, I mean, I'm a little irritated that, you know, we didn't get any kind of a heads up that it was in bonds, because, I mean, that was 6 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever it was. So, I mean, we're gonna have to take a little bit closer look at what it's going into and make sure that we have some kind of a, I don't know, flag, trigger, whatever you wanna call it, so we know where things are going on a quarterly or whatever basis. I'm not sure we're getting those kind of reports from VML Vaco. So from my concern is that we have better and more timely information.
And it's not like it's not available. But just like
wouldn't
purchasing
think so.
stocks, you can purchase stocks at a certain price, you can sell it when it, you know, and get alerts when it get to a certain price. So VML Vaco should be able to provide that to us. And I'm not saying we're gonna continue with them, but,
But,
But in the short term, I think it's a good idea to switch the investment vehicle
yeah,
from the bond base to the investment, to the,
but my question on that though is, do we need more information as far as the short term if we would be bound by a limit as far as amount and also time period?
we should find out, but that's technically our reserve, isn't it? Our emergency reserve, essentially, sort of, kind of,
Sort of, kind of, yeah.
for lack of, because we don't really have a reserve account.
If we would consider reserve, we've always looked at more of the other account that has the over $1 million.
Yeah.
As more of the reserve account.
But you don't actively draw from this account.
No, we do
so it's-
not. We
It's
do not.
effectively a
We-
reserve account, just
Pretty
because
much,
it's
yeah.
locked up in a bond market.
Right.
so I think, you know, my recommendation would be that you investigate the quick move, stop the bleeding, and then do the analysis on whether it's better to stay with them or to put it into the bank and get economies of scale on the money over there. Right?
So without objection, we direct Roberta to shift the funds.
No, it's not shifting. I think we need a couple of days to get back, because penalty is huge.
You could give the direction that.
Give the direction, yeah, we could give the direction tonight, but not to move it tonight, but to get that information within the next day. That make sense?
Good with that?
Because if there's no penalty, there's no time frame to keep it in the short term. If everything works in our favor to move it right now, based on that investigation, then I would say, Mr. Mayor, to direct Roberto.
Is that all part of one
Okay.
directive?
Yeah.
And I think
Works for me.
I think
no
we have
objection.
Does that make
close
sense?
enough meetings that we can direct it later on. Just do the research now.
Do it Monday, you know,
Yeah.
if he's got the
we could do
information.
it
No, he promised us tomorrow.
All right, so
Well,
can I
the
ask one
directive to
question?
change.
Can I ask one follow-up? So with respect to the decision, it's only a directive, you don't need anything else from the council, because we initially did it by resolution investing with VML Vaco. We had to, you know, adopt a resolution with VML Vaco to do that, and the council vote, so.
So we will make sure to ask one. We have our standing Wednesday call tomorrow, so we can ask him tomorrow as well.
Sounds good. Excellent, thank you.
And in event that that's the case, Roberto,
Yes,
how
sir.
could we stop the bleeding earlier? Do we have to wait until next council session?
Do it at the work session.
Yeah,
We have the work
Monday.
session on Monday. Okay.
Did I just say that before?
No, you didn't.
I thought I said.
No, you
work
thought of it. but you
Oh,
didn't.
okay.
Okay.
Sorry to hang you up on that one.
No, but that was important.
Yeah.
Okay, we're ready to move forward? Okay. So the next section you see of revenues is actually our rental revenues. These are adjusted on the commons line item. Some of our tenants have renewed, and this addresses the correction, well, the new revised contract with our tenant, Washington Street Realty. It also shows the new tenants, A1 Testing Solutions. These are all lease-based revenues. There is currently one tenant, Copper Cricket, that we're just waiting for them to, we have given them the attorney revised contract and vetted, so we're just waiting for them to do their due diligence and review it themselves. Their lease is coming up to ending on June 30th, so I'm assuming we'd hear from them soon concerning, they opted to continue renting the space for another 2 years. So we are just waiting on their answer.
Okay. So we got most of these locked in. I know the Haymarket Coffee Company is, the numbers we're showing here is what's laid out on what is secured.
So the Haymarket Coffee Shop was a very unique situation because when they first came to, at the time, town manager Mr. Kuhn, it was agreed that it was more of a weekend venture with them, paying a fee for the day. But then slowly, as everyone noticed, they started growing, and then, the town also went into this partnership, because we can call it a partnership. It's the fact that they also had the museum open, so they started doing the $50 per day for every day they were there. So 30 days, 28 days. That's how we came to now. Actually, they actually paid $11,450 of just rent on top of their meals taxes towards the town, but they are no longer there. So I've obviously removed them for next year's budget because we know that they are no longer there. But it was a very unique situation. We didn't expect them to receive that much revenue from them, specifically just because that was not the initial agreement. It just kind of grew on its own.
Okay. Do we have any prospects? Do we want to put in any type of gamble amount, or?
So let me pass that on to our town manager, because she is in discussion with some prospect new tenant.
Yes, so we do have 2 interested parties that would like to lease the museum. I do find, just based on what they presented so far, that one is a bit more fitting than the other. But what we're going to be doing is putting up this space and how much square footage, images, put everything out there on our website, along with all our other space for lease, and accept applications to review them, and we'll go through there. So we hopefully will have this space leased out here sometime early summer. So I will work with Roberto and try to put in a prospect number there.
Okay. In general, I just want to try to make it transparent to our citizens, but I'm happy having a zero number, because anything that comes in is gravy. I mean, it's kind of like, hurrah, let's celebrate. But I just want to make that transparent to people and allow them to understand that we are working with any other assets that we have in town to try and make sure that they are profitable. I don't know if
No, I
anybody
agree
else-
with you. Personally, I prefer keeping it at 0.
Okay. Is everybody?
Anybody else? Okay. Continue the good work on selling it.
And keep it at
And,
0.
Selling it.
No. Not continue the good work at keeping it at 0. Heard what Mr. Mayor said?
Yes.
Okay.
Continue
move-
that good work, but keep it at 0 for the budget.
keep it at 0 now,
Yes.
but anything that we can prosper from it is, of course, gravy, and we can just
Just later.
adjust later. Yeah.
Okay. We can, you guys are ready to move on? Okay. So next section of revenues we're seeing is the town events. Now with the restrictions and things hopefully going back to normal, we are fully going forward with anticipating a full year of events. So this is going back to trends. This year though, as it gets closer for our bigger event, Haymarket Day or anything, we will separate sponsorship versus the town event revenues. Town event revenues are usually brought in by vendors, fees, that offset the cost to put up the events throughout the year. You know, we've been fortunate enough that the town doesn't supplement the cost to hold these events. They're all really self-preserved. So we're going forward with that. Also, you'll see the town ornaments. They have been a huge hit with Area 1, so that's something we wish to continue and budget for.
How much did we invest initially in that again? I can't remember.
This year?
Yeah, this year. Do you remember? What did, 4,500?
This year was roughly about 4,500. I'll be fully transparent with the council. This coming year, we're gonna need to do another investment and get some of the original ornament for the town museum, because people really like being able to buy all of them, and we sold out of that one again.
Ah, I see, okay. So you want to sell them as a kit?
Yeah, so
Yes.
usually what we do is, with that investment, we get about 100 of those, so
Okay,
we'd like to do that again.
okay.
Okay. Going down the line items. Coming to some revenue sources from the Commonwealth. Our Senate 599 law enforcement grant. The communication tax.
Why
Due
is
to,
that dropping so much?
due to trends, I'll revisit that, but the trend wise, it's just showing lower and lower.
That's not our cable franchise tax, is it?
I will look into it. At the time, I believe this question was asked before, and at the time, Town Manager Kuhn was in the process of reviewing it. We got the franchise agreements to him, copies, and I just need to get on top of that. I know they were sitting on his desk, in fact, so I'll
Yeah.
get.
Thought that was like
Where are we at?
We are on
3,200.05.
yes.
Okay, because you dropped down to law enforcement, and then we moved on up. I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
No, we didn't do that, did we? Oh, you're talking about the grant.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Roberta was starting to talk about law enforcement grant, and then you moved back up to the communications tax.
Right. Take it away, Roberto.
Yes.
Take it
so-
away.
So the law enforcement tax, I'll let Chief speak on it, but it's a standard grant that we have received annually.
Yes, it's a grant that's received annually. It was on litigation for the last 3 years. So we've received the awardment of the 2019. We are in the application phase of the 2020, and then the 2021 has not yet been released for application. The 2019 was awarded for $1,547, and the 2020 that we're applying for is $1,520.
Okay, and we're looking at
That's-
32,000-2, right? What's up with 17?
32,000. He's talking about the Lola grants.
I'm sorry, I saw the in red up there. I thought we was talking about the lowly grants.
Okay,
So what did you want to know about the 599 grant?
Yeah,
That's state funding.
yeah, that's
State
state
funding.
funding.
that's
Yes.
state funding, and this is something we typically have gotten, because I see zeros in the previous years.
No,
No,
No.
we've always gotten 599.
no, you're looking at VDOT grant revenue.
Right.
Look at the one below VDOT grant revenue. You want a ruler? Because I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Use a ruler, that helps.
Your eyes are getting old, Ken.
Yep. Age is hitting me.
Hit me a while ago.
I mean, that's pretty consistent over the years.
Yes, very consistent.
Do we have any sense of what the legislature
They
is?
just increased it this year, didn't they?
But I'm not sure what percentage. I don't think they
It was
finalized
a
it.
small percentage.
Yeah.
So in prior years, it was increased a bit.
A bit.
But this year, we got letters saying that they were going to go, they actually reduced it again. back to what we were originally getting, so that's why
Oh,
there's a small reduction.
the man with the answers. Very good.
I thought they raised it.
They raised it and then dropped it again.
No,
Made it look good.
must have
So we-
gone to committee. Okay.
I got my magic paper. Joe, I'll give you
Oh,
your
okay.
yardstick back.
Okay. In communication tax, to address that, I will try to get back on trying to figure out researching that. I know, like I stated, that at the time, Christopher Kuhn did ask me to pull all the franchise agreements. We did, I believe, he discussed them in during finance liaison time. Some of them were coming up and whatnot, but I don't know where he left it off. So I'll try to research somewhere he left off and pick up.
Yeah,
there.
I would like to get a true understanding of what our communication tax is, because, you know, I hear we have contracts with Comcast, but then again, we got Verizon, but lo and behold, we don't have a Verizon Fios contract because that's no longer legal and we don't have to require it. But I want to see tax off of this. If we're taxing Comcast, I want to tax Verizon, right? So I don't understand how all that falls. Does anybody have any type of insight into that?
Well,
Communications tax is figured out differently, and I thought it had something to do with statewide usage and cell towers or something like that, but I don't see anything in here from the franchise agreements, so I guess Joe and I and Roberta will have to work on that this week and figure out where, if any, revenue is coming from those franchise agreements.
Yeah, if you could give me some type of idea of where this money really comes from,
Well-
and whether we do have a avenue of funding that we don't see, I would like to make sure that we capture it.
Well, that's paid for. Communications tax comes straight to the state.
right. And it's shared
Yes,
with the localities.
correct.
Because I'm reading right here, communication sales tax on telecommunications services. And it supports E911 as well as other things.
It's convoluted, and it's very complex.
On the LAS. It's on LAS.
We gotta figure out what our franchise agreements are getting us, if anything.
So, yeah, if I could ask for somebody to maybe dig into that a little bit to understand it.
Is there enough juice in that, do you think?
I don't know, but if it's not juice into what we're making now, it may be juiced into, you know, whether Fios is coming into town, right? And I don't even think we got any type of franchise with that, but I don't think we need a franchise at this point, right?
Fios,
Yeah,
that's mandatory. They have to sign on to the existing Comcast cable agreement to provide Fios in town.
yeah. So, well, you know, Comcast is a different franchise than what
Doesn't matter
Verizon
the way it
is.
works in Virginia. Whoever signs the contract first, all the other providers have to sign on to those contract terms.
But, yeah,
First one,
Easy-
first
easy.
one to sign sets the mark for everybody else that wants to provide that service in town, and they can't provide the service unless they sign on to the agreement.
okay. So if that's the case, then a question for Roberto. Do we see anything from Verizon?
We get a communications from taxes deposited, so I'll have to go back and look at the RDI and see, get some actual paperwork aside from just a deposit we see.
Right. I just want to make sure that we're not getting lost in the convoluted taxing of everything. I want my fair share.
Okay.
Sorry to play stupid here, guys, but
No, that's all right. It's a good
it's
question.
just my concern.
So moving forward, personal property tax, as you guys know, it's once a year reimbursement we get from the county,
State.
the state, sorry. And I'm not sure, I can never have gotten an explanation as to how this came about with the town, but I have a feeling that I know other jurisdictions, what they did is they turned over the property taxes over to the county, and the county now collects them.
No,
That gives a share
we
to-
didn't do that.
Okay.
One of the reasons we still have the stickers is to prove that we still have a personal property tax, because if we didn't, then that $18,000 gets distributed to the rest of the state.
Okay,
So we remain in the program.
okay,
Why throw $18,000 down the toilet and give it to other jurisdictions?
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, going forward to, the next line item, the railroad rolling stock. I just reduced that to be more true to what we are receiving on a yearly basis.
Historically, yeah.
Yep. The next line item is the DMV Select Commission.
Zero.
So, I have given, council, if you guys take a look, I've just printed out a report. The reason why it's a part of the agenda packet was because a lot of these things happened today. Today, we received March's revenues, and I wanted to go ahead and give you guys the opportunity to review it, but also have a point of discussion, because I know the contract is coming up to if we're going to renew it or not. As you guys are all aware, Miss Dolores will no longer be with the town. She's given her 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, her last day will be Thursday. So we are going to be down. The DMV will stay. They try to softly open into a walk-in and appointment only, but with only having Ms. Kim be the person to address any DMV questions or transactions, we're going to go back to just solely appointment-based only. And I guess in a sense, I think this, during budget, it's a good time to discuss it, if this is something that the town wishes to go forward with, or they still need more information. But I did just want to give you guys the most up-to-date current information as of today.
Now, these numbers I see, is this truly the estimated generation for the rest of this year?
So the 60,500 is what was originally estimated last year when the town went into this new program. The 45,332.18 is what we've actually received as of up till March. So from July to March, that is what the town has collected. So we still have 3 more months to go. And if we continue, I'm not sure with just having one person working the window, if we'll be able to maintain the current rate of revenue. Obviously, on the expenditure side, we will have less expenses, monthly expenses, but I'm not sure that with one person, Ms. Kim could sustain that, that revenue that we're receiving currently.
And this projection is strictly off of what we've seen through our history, right? Have we
So,
reviewed what the impacts of DMV totally changing their model on us and opening up on Saturdays? And
You
so,
can see that in the revenue curve.
yeah,
see that in the revenue curves, but have we adjusted our projected income off of these
no,
impacts?
we have not adjusted it because even DMV, when asked, the only answer we really get is that everyone's taking a hit. There's no vehicles. So they themselves haven't really given us a straight answer as to what kind of projections we're gonna. They're just pretty much saying, well, you need to advertise more, you need to open it to walk-ins more of that type of conversation, and they're not really saying what kind of impact it's having, other than every jurisdiction is having an impact.
Right. And so off of this model, I don't know if we can really project off of our previous history. I think we need to show some type of impact here on what our revenue will be over the year if we continue with this program. I don't know what you guys feel about that. Mary?
For the sake of this discussion, with regards to needing to renew the contract or not, Ms. Kim, do you think that you could solely support the DMV Select while also executing your clerk duties? and everything, or do you think that that's an unfair, or like an imbalanced or heavy hat, if you will?
I won't be able to efficiently do both jobs.
Okay. So with the projections going this way, I personally am leaning towards probably not renewing the contract. I don't know when that discussion will occur, or, you know, when we'll make a final vote for it or whatever. But just for the sake of this discussion, do you think that given that Kim probably wouldn't be able to, for her words, she wouldn't really be able to be as effective in this way, for the sake of this budget, should this be altered?
If you guys are asking me, I've seen it work from the beginning stage till now. I've observed it. I do not work in the day-to-day transactions, but what I've observed is we did have a great employee, Dolores, that knew the information, and Kim as well. But realistically, I don't think we have the building that could successfully make this program continue going unless the town wants to see this more as a service, and I think Ms. Kim has mentioned this, or, you know, as another stream of revenue. I think right now it's more of a service, but it's not specifically just to our town residents. It's to our neighboring towns, and some people are coming further out. But I don't think that I don't think it was really well thought out when it comes to lab. But then again, I've never had the experience before with it. So yes, the 60,500 is at this time. I find it that we can't hit that mark. We do need to adjust it if we choose to continue. But we also have to discuss then if going forward, in order to make it somewhat successful, you do need to look at the manpower, meaning that most likely 2 part-timers versus 1 full-timer. I think Ms. Kim has done a great job in presenting that to council in her report. There's nothing more I can add to it. But if you're asking me my observations, you know, I think this room isn't made for that specific service. So
Yeah. Well, what I'd be truly looking at, I don't care if we're going to cancel this or go into any type of politics of it. I just want to know, is this projection accurate? Do you feel if we keep this program rolling that we will see 60,500 this year? And what I would like to see in this budget is that this get adjusted to what we feel is realistic. And then outside of this budget, this is strictly a budget discussion, right? Politics on whether we want to cancel it or whatever comes outside.
no, so so what you got to understand, Mayor, is that the 60,500 was when that original number was originated, was that DMV was closed. There was never going to be a walk-ins ever. We were going to stay to appointments only. To answer your question, I don't know how I could answer that to you, because there's many things that happened since then till now.
Yeah.
That, yes, realistically, 60,500 doable, probably not. But at the same time, I don't know how to justify reducing it, because there's just so many variables that unfortunately, am not a DMV expert to really address. That's why we kind of lean towards DMV representatives when they first, presented this. But
Correct.
at the time, the 60,500, had DMV not opened up, as you saw, as council saw as a whole, and you see in the projection, we were doing
Yep.
decent. We were doing very decent, but then it got cut in half once DMV opened up to full service and no appointments only.
And I understand that. Like I said, I'm strictly trying to be budget focused here and say, okay, what kind of revenue are we going to see from this?
If it continues.
If it continues, but this is what we're going to project, what we're going to see if this continues throughout the year.
We should just figure-
Then once we get a budget, we lock down on the budget. Then we come back saying, hey, this isn't meeting our budget. Are we going to keep this program going or not?
Let me just put it in context. In order to meet 60,500, you've got to do over 5,000 a month. do we think we're gonna do over 5,000 a month, giving?
Exactly. I want a realistic
I'm-
projection.
But do we think we'll even be able to make,
I just want to map out the realistic projections in our budget so we can approve the budget.
Well, no,
And then we can make a decision on whether we're meeting our budget and either cancel the program, modify it, or do whatever. So there are two different things. But right now, I just want to focus on the budget,
No,
right?
no, they're not two separate things, because if we're not gonna have it, then it's zero and we don't worry about it from a budgetary standpoint. That's right. So.
But we're not at that point of a decision.
Well, let's take a
So
straw poll and find out if we are.
We're focusing on the
We've gotta make that
budget
decision
strictly.
within the next couple of weeks.
True.
So are we gonna publish a budget with something in there that we're not gonna fund in the next couple of weeks? This is next year's budget. We need to make that decision now, or at least get a sense of where we are. And if there's a straw poll that says we're not gonna maintain it, then we zero out the line item right now.
Right. And if you zero it out right now, you've already condemned
No,
your future decisions on what you're going to do with this
Already negate the
program.
vote.
Yeah.
let's take a straw poll and find out.
No, I think you two are saying the same thing. If we go ahead with a straw vote to nix this and put it at zero,
Yeah.
which I'm in favor of, you're actually going against doing a vote in the next 2 weeks when
No,
we
we
get
still have to
together.
vote.
You still have to vote,
We
but
still
you've
have to
already,
vote.
you've made a decision based on the direction you're gonna go with the vote.
But we're not going to look at the impact because we've already negated it from our future.
This is crafting the budget. If there's a sense that the program's not going to exist in the next fiscal year, then you budget it at zero right now.
My recommendation is let's stop wasting time talking about the DMV Select.
And just
Let's leave the number
negate
where it is. And the next 2 weeks, we vote on it, and immediately following the vote, Roberta puts it to zero.
When do we have to publish this?
So we have to. Is it 2 weeks before?
Because I don't want to go to publication with a number
Right,
in there.
right.
I agree.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
why
want
wanna-
to, I don't want to be,
That's why I
I
want to mark it at zero
don't want to be
now.
accountable for a number
Of
that I
your
can't get.
Timeline.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get here, is I don't want to be accountable for a number I
But
can't
when
get.
just like what you said a while ago, when they said DMV Select and you said nix it. We have to make sure that we maintain above the board with making decisions because we're not voting here.
But from a budgetary standpoint, reading the tea leaves, I'd be comfortable with a zero and preparing for that outcome now. And if we do keep it, and we actually do generate revenue, it's not going to be 60,000.
I
It's
understand.
going to be significantly less, so I would zero it at this point.
I understand. But I don't think we can put zero there without an official vote, not a straw vote, an official vote from all of council to say, this is the direction that we're going.
Well, that works both ways, because it's either a vote to renew it, or there's no vote at all, or there's a vote not to renew it.
That is why you
So-
cannot put a zero now, because for
We don't have a
majority,
contract for next year.
but majority in the next 2 weeks may vote yes to keep it.
All right. I still think it should be a zero, but for simplicity's sake.
So my timeline would be that we would send the announcement out for a public hearing for June 6th. And then the adoption of the budget and tax rate will be on June 27th.
Yeah, we got time.
So we have time.
Please put a highlight on this,
Well,
and we
just
can
a minute,
address
Mr.
it.
Mayor. But when do we have to make a decision on the DMV, on renewing the contract?
Kim, when is-
By June 1.
I haven't even gotten the contract yet.
Okay, so we're good with timing if we
So,
delay
I
for
mean,
2 weeks.
We can wait till the end of June to sign that contract, as
Okay.
long as they have it in their hands.
I thought we had a
signed by-
requirement to do that by June 1.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, the contract that we signed, we've got to make the decision by June 1.
Mr. Mayor, may I propose that it goes on the next work session and also the next council meeting, this discussion? So we walk away the first week of May with a decision that gives you enough time, correct it, or leave it, and then publish.
Yeah.
Can I ask, so you want to have the public hearing on June 6th? You need how many weeks to post it? 2 weeks?
1 week.
1 week. So if we make a decision by May
Fifth.
5th, is it? Is
Fifth
it that
or
the Monday?
sixth.
Then we have
Do
plenty of
that or
time to
during
do
work
it.
session.
No, not,
Just
no,
not-
the May, the council
May
meeting
meeting?
is fine, sir.
Okay. Please put that on the agenda.
That would be May 2nd.
May 2nd. So we're good.
Yeah,
And it's cleaner.
I don't trust this number, so yeah, I would like this discussed further.
We're gonna have to do 5,000 a month for the next 3 months to break even, if we're lucky.
And we haven't hit 5,000 since October.
Yeah. I mean, it's another.
I understand. I just want to make one last point concerning the DMV Select. I do believe that the DMV Select was well thought out. There were circumstances that hindered us because we should be, if with the thought back in earlier last year, would be to ramp up and start hiring an additional person. The only way, in my opinion, DMV Select is going to work for us is if we go full blast with it. On open at all times, walk-ins and appointments. That's the only way it's going to happen. We've been dealt a bad hand because when we sat down and went through DMV Select, it was DMV's main office would not welcome any more walk-ins. They weren't even thinking of Saturdays, or they were thinking about it and didn't let us know. So there were a lot of things that made it look favorable for us. Now we're seeing the effects of it, and thankfully for the finance committee. Can we still call them a committee?
No, we're liaisons.
Liaisons.
Okay, so
We're the committee, yeah.
So the finance liaisons, with Roberto and gathering all the information through Ms. Kim, you guys have done a great job in bringing this to us, because when Bob first mentioned it to me, I thought he was just being Bob. Then he backed it up with numbers. And I'm like, oh, he's still Bob, but now he has numbers.
And
So I just want to thank you guys for pushing the numbers and getting it set up. But I wanted to be clear that it was well thought
Remember
of.
that, thank you for pushing the numbers later
So-
on.
And another thing too, Mayor, also too, if we reduce the 60,500, remember when we set this endeavor at the time, the town manager said that, the new employee, the clerk, basically DMV will kind of pay for it. So if you're going to reduce this, you need to also remember that this also is married up with that position. So we would have to also review about reducing the pay for that position and the wages for that. Because all in is pretty much covers that sole position. So if we reduce it.
And that's
we're gonna look
understood.
at that.
I mean, all we're looking at here is the revenue for it. We're projecting a 60,000 revenue. How the buckets of money shift on how we spend it, it's a different thing. We just need to make sure that we be realistic on what our true revenue will be this year on it. And that's all I'm concerned about. I gotta admit, DMV kind of sold us a business model that they thought was going to be solid, and then they totally changed on us.
Well, the
But-
legislature changed a good bit of it.
Well, yeah, but still, it was a model that they said was going to be solid, and it wasn't. So, Joe?
I'm having a deja vu, because I think we already went through this last month. We had this
Yeah,
discussion.
I know, it's just, I want to make sure that
But-
our projected numbers are realistic and not
The
fantasy.
reality is, we're faced with a binary choice here. Either we're going forward or we're not. And that's what it is. And we'll do that in May. We'll have more information, and by what, May 2nd, we'll be able to make
a
it.
decision.
Okay.
God willing, yeah. And
Okay.
you might be surprised. It might be 6-1. I'm sorry, 5-1, but the mayor can't vote. You shouldn't be talking that much in the meetings either. You should
I'm
wait
sorry,
until-
but I do
Actually,
want to
you should
show
wait-
my,
Actually, you should actually wait until all of council have talked, and then you can share your views.
Well, then we can always change the
I'm
charter,
right there.
too,
So,
We could change the charter.
yeah.
I just don't want to be a figurehead.
I know you're passionate.
I do have a voice, I don't want to be a figurehead, you know how it is. Okay, let's move
Voice
on.
speaks last.
We can always break a tie, so.
I can always veto if I,
You can break a tie.
If
We
I
can
hate
always
y'all.
override.
So Council, so moving forward, I went ahead and highlighted that line in DMV. Going forward, the lowly grant, that is what Chief was talking about, so I'll let him go ahead and explain it all over again.
Well, if you need me to explain it, I can, but I think I covered it. My apologies. That's what, Roberto set me up. He put it in red, just threw me off.
Yeah, and this was a confusion I had. I didn't know if you were talking about line item, where is it up here?
02 and
02,
17.
yeah, and now that we're at 17. 17 looks like it's a new income.
Yes, it had been received before. We did follow up on some of it. There was like 1 year, I think, 2014 or 15, that nobody applied for it during that time, whoever the chief was at that time. But all the other years it was applied for and received, and like I said, the current 2019 is 1547, 2020 is 1520.
Yep, and what I'd like to do here is definitely recognize the effort that you put into getting this. This is something that we haven't seen over the past 8 years, and that this is something that putting together an organized police force, trying to get into our loan grant writing capabilities, this is showing what our progress is on getting this done. And I really appreciate the effort that you put into this.
No worries, we'll continue forward.
Mr. Mayor, may I just suggest?
Yes.
The administrator for this, who is it?
I am the controller. The way that it has to be set up is there has to be a parallel. In other words, there has to be a city governing body, and then the actual, controller, and then the treasurer obviously is our money guy. And that's the way that it has to be set up. There's 3 levels of a surety to make sure that the funds are applied as they've been dictated.
So I'm not gonna have to go to your home desk and dig the contract out?
No, it is sitting on my desk, as a matter of fact.
Right now, is the mayor involved?
The mayor is shown as the administrator.
Okay, but that's a problem, because we change mayors every 2 years.
Mhm.
Sometimes, right?
But these grants are only good for a year,
But-
right?
No, but what happened is that if the documentation was going to the mayor of Haymarket, it should never go to the mayor of Haymarket.
Should
It was
go to
a-
the treasurer,
So it
yeah.
should go to the treasurer, copied, and so if it's okay with council, why is it that we don't have the 3 appointments in the town being the ones that this document goes to, i.e. the town manager, the treasurer, and the chief of police?
And I'm fully behind that. I just want to make sure that we do a separation of duty here so that we do keep controls.
And the thing is, the administrator is the one who manages it, and he's held accountable for the funds by the treasurer. The problem is, if it keeps going to Ken Larson at 1111, Jefferson Street, and he loses the next election and doesn't check his email and don't care about it, it's going to go in the junk pile, which is what has happened. So my suggestion is, if it's addressed to the town manager, then we know where it's going.
I'm good with that.
I'm totally fine. Just a separation of duty. I want to make sure that we keep the checks and balances in place.
And we have it right here.
Yes, sir.
So I think if it's okay, if you can research just to change it from the mayor to the town manager, and then you have your 3 checks and balances.
Yes, sir, I absolutely can, Mr.
So
Passanello.
you're Alexander Haig. And-
Yes.
And you are,
You're in charge here.
am in charge.
you're the president, Right.
There will always be one.
and you're the secretary of treasury,
Yep.
essentially.
Correct.
So, okay.
You're
Works for me.
showing your age there a little bit.
Yeah, I know.
Emily was looking around like, who's
Sad,
that?
Mr. Mayor, we have all these years, the previous years, where they never, it was never,
That's why I wanted to make sure that this.
or it was applied for, and the monies went elsewhere.
Do we know that? Do we know?
Well, I've got a morbid curiosity. If we got the funds before, Roberto, where in the budget were they reported?
Roberto did vet this for me when we applied for the grant.
Chief, it's not you, this is directed somewhere else.
Okay, no worries.
I'm very confused.
Yes.
You could talk to me offline about where it was reported.
Yeah, so as we move on, Roberto, maybe later on you can inform us of those monies.
Let's stay focused to
Keep calm and carry on.
It's time to
Just had to get to that.
get this
Okay.
moving.
You did go.
So moving forward, one of the things you'll notice on these, in the next 3 line items is I did remove the reserve funds this year we used because of the fire grant that we used to assist the fire department getting their equipment. On that topic, just letting you know that we're almost there, we're almost at the end. We're just waiting for the last few vests. They've come here and picked them up. They're super appreciative. I believe the county heard about it too, so they also decided to assist them to get the remaining vests as needed. So next year's budget, that is something we won't have. We have exhausted those funds. The carryover surplus, I removed it because the carryover surplus in this current budget is to help address our park sidewalk and our master town center plan, the completion of it. We removed it because now that we have declared taking the one-time allowance of the ARPA funds, the whole purpose of it is to still use the funds for what it's intended, and that's infrastructure. Just removing some of those hurdles that we would have to do to move forward with it. So what we're going to do is that we're going to accept the funds, defer it, so it's out of the budget, but kept separate, kind of like a lockbox. And the money to solely make sure that the money is used for its intent, which is for the completion of the park sidewalk, completion of this town center master plan, which is ongoing, and any other infrastructure project that council so chooses to move forward with. So what this line item is showing is basically when that is done, council will decide, we'll have the meeting, discuss it publicly, and, give a resolution to move money over from essentially another separate reserve account with the sole intent to, use it towards the infrastructure or any other project that they deem they want to use that funds for. Right now, I am putting the $209,600 to specifically address the town center and park sidewalk. And that's just a marker right now, because once we get ahead with the engineering, the RFPs, I'm sure that with the park sidewalk, it's going to be a lot more. So we'll have to make that move as well. And that'll be addressed by doing an amendment to the budget.
Okay, I think you burned ahead a little bit, right?
No, everything else was grants, sir.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at, I guess,
Which one?
I'm lost. We got the caboose enhancement.
None of those,
All grants.
none of those apply anymore. Those are all dead grants, but we have to carry them on the chart for 5 years.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say, because I'm sure we're going to be seeing some type of caboose enhancement requirement for expenses. So I didn't know if there was going to be any parallel with that.
Is that a CIP kind of thing?
Yeah, well,
These are all income, sir.
I know, but I'm just kind of looking
And a
ahead,
bunch of
trying to
them,
map them.
of them come off the books next year where we won't have
Yeah.
to report them anymore.
Yeah,
I do have
Okay.
one question, though, on the revenue side, if I may.
go ahead.
About the DMV safety grant, what the status is on any of that? Have we got anything? Okay. Therefore, it's zero.
Therefore, it's zero.
Okay.
So the
Activity until we get a decision. Okay, go ahead.
So
Sorry.
with this new on the revenue side, you will see that our budget from this current budget has increased by 7.7%. And
Right.
It's
moving-
largely organic growth. It's not through the increase in anything.
correct. I was just gonna say that this is considering the equalized tax rate, and it's mainly organic stuff that's going on in the town. I definitely will share that last year's treasurers conference, I was one of the very few treasurers that did not have to have a story about businesses closing or shutting down or having trouble. The town was very lucky to be able to go through the pandemic, and businesses adapted really well and quickly.
We are very fortunate on that. Do we have any type of record or percentage of what our business's closure is, or reasonings behind it? We're pretty much 100% on keeping them open, right?
Yep.
We've had some relocations.
Yeah, strictly
nothing-
relocations,
nothing
nothing
beyond the
because
norm.
of financial burdens, right?
Yep.
Maybe we can ask the town manager to include that in her report and give, because that's the place to talk about it,
Yeah.
not necessarily here.
Yeah. But just a good highlight, just looking at the records here.
Okay, moving forward to the expenditures. First, we'll start off with the administration side. First portion is going to be the town council.
No change there, right?
No change there. And in fact, I'm not sure if the elections, now thinking about it, looking at this budget, do apologize, I didn't think about the fact that because the elections have changed, I don't know if we do need to maintain that 3,000 or should we remove it?
I thought we're not paying this time
Yeah,
because of that.
I was going to say, since they shifted it, this should be totally on the state.
All right,
I
wait a minute.
believe it is,
Well,
it's on the county, I
What it
believe.
should be and what it will be are two different things.
I
Yeah,
thought, no,
keep-
I thought
keep
we
it
got,
on.
Wait a minute.
I thought we got a notice that we weren't gonna have to pay this year
Did
because of
we,
that.
well, wait a minute, did we have to pay for the election in November, this past November?
Yes, that was a
Because it was a
special.
Because it was a
special
special.
election.
Especially when they had to reprint the
Right.
ballots.
So we had this discussion before, and I think we were carrying this because we didn't have an answer yet, whether in fact the county was going to pay for
I
this.
thought we did get an answer where they told us we were not gonna be
I
on the hook for
believe-
anything.
I believe we did too, and even talking about now, I want to say that Mr. Kuhn one that actually got that message, so maybe we can research that.
We need it in writing before we take it out of the budget. That would be my recommendation.
I agree.
I think we do have it in writing.
We do?
I vaguely remember seeing it and going, well, it was nice. I think been like 4 months ago, though.
Yeah.
Now, if I remember the previous May election, we ended up having a much heftier bill, right, Roberto? Because it was the pandemic,
Pandemic,
and it had to do with
mail-in ballots.
mail-in ballots and all of that,
Yep.
right?
Yes,
Now, the question I would have is, are we going to continue with that, which the law says?
which we should, yeah.
Well,
We don't have an option.
the law says it.
But like I said, it should be state or county
Borne
covered.
by the county, by the county elections department, because they have to mail the same ballot out.
Oh, it's Chris's. Yeah, so I guess my question is that going to be the right number if we
I
have
think
to
the
pay
number's
for
zero.
it? Okay.
Pretty sure
It
it's
should be
zero.
zero. I'm good with keeping 3 in there because, you
I'm
know,
fine with
that's,
keeping
that,
it in, but I'm pretty sure we got
that's a-
correspondence from the county saying there would not be a bill this year. In fact, I think it came from the county registrar's office.
yeah.
That sounds like an SOS.
Chris, your phone's, I don't want to touch it.
She doesn't speak Jamaican.
That wasn't a reggae beat. Okay. Yeah, I don't, unless we get confirmation, we can keep that number in there. I'd rather see us lose money on paper and see a win later on than end up finding out we got to hit it up. I don't know what everybody else agrees.
Let's confirm it, that's all.
Okay, then moving on to, if you guys don't see any changes you want to see on the town council side, we'll move forward down to the administration side.
Just the DMV clerk question, but
Yeah.
we'll address that.
Okay. So this is on the wages side. This takes into account, this budget works with a proposed COLA increase of 4.75. I believe Mr. Shiro had given council information, how we came about this. I don't know if there's any specific desire to discuss that right now, or
About
move
the
forward?
COLAs?
Yes. Okay. This,
I'm sorry, I apologize for interrupting, but on the revenue side, when we were talking about the DMV clerk, right, that was 60,500, or the revenue coming in? And this is 48,478. So I imagine the other cost is attributable to maybe the clerk helping. I'm not sure. So where would that other monies
So
be
the
reduced?
so when and this is just for, not for you, I know you know this, but to educate everyone. So on the wages side, the 48,478 is basically just their gross pay. It doesn't take into account the FICA taxes, it doesn't take into account the VRS.
Right.
The town participates in the VRS program for the employees, doesn't take into account the unemployment, it does not take into account the insurance. Though the employee, we do pay our portion, the town does subsidize the remaining portion. And even then, Councilman Pasanel, you know, that is where those numbers are for, as far as specifically for the clerk, we do not account for that, her time using it. We are tracking it now with the timesheets, but we did not originally account her time towards that, as she's a salaried employee. So, yes,
Okay.
that's how that was handled. Councilman Ware, you said you had a question specifically on the DMV clerk? You said you had a question on the DMV clerk?
No, we just addressed that.
Okay, address it, okay.
When we addressed the other line item.
Okay. Just so you, council as a whole knows, I think I've talked about this too. Please remember that this number also includes holding the vacant position of town manager with the pay, the VRS, the insurance, which to be fair, I carried a full family plan, not knowing if we go forward, what kind of person we would hire or.
Single, apparently.
So that's where it holds at. The FICA, obviously, with the COLA increase, also the FICA.
Maybe we should take the town's money and put it in like Duracell stock.
The one thing I did.
Lithium ion when the final upgrade comes, but
Hey, before you go on, Roberto,
Yes.
overtime, which employees are non-exempt? I'm sorry, yes, non-exempt.
Are part-timers.
That's it?
That's it.
So this overtime that's here, 121, 1002 applies to them?
It would apply, well, prior to 2017, or maybe even 16, I believe the town worked, the clerk, the treasurer, and town, not town manager, clerk and treasurer, I think were hourly employees, I believe. At some point, I did see that people were hourly employees, so they were able to get overtime. But since I started here, I don't know if it was like Kimberly Murray at the time, she was the town manager, we were hired as salaried employees. So there is no overtime opportunity for
exempt.
us. Yep.
Salary and exempt.
Yep.
So there are no full-time positions here that are non-exempt.
Not on the admin side, no.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, after the FICA, the VRS, 1211005. This is a reduction because this year I got notified every 2 years, the VRS sends a report with the new rates for each individual locality. Our participation has done really well that for the next 2 years, this coming fiscal year and the following fiscal year, the town's portion contribution per employee has been lowered. It's been lowered from a 10.79 to a 6.12. So essentially, for each employee, the town is paying less. Still participating under the contributions. The contribution doesn't change on the employee side, but the town's contribution is actually lower. Health.
I'm sorry, Robert.
Yes.
24%.
Can I just go back to the overtime? So if we have one part-time employee here now and possibly one more part-time coming on, and we have major events that they would be required, why would we not carry a number in this overtime? Or is there somewhere else we can carry funds to cover those part-time employees working?
Usually, when it comes to the events, we try to schedule them where if they were to work the event, they offset their schedule. We change their schedule around so there is no opportunity to overtime. Also, we don't want to risk any labor laws either, so we try to keep them with under the 40 hours a work week to 32, between 32 and 24.
But if they're part-time, I would want to submit, Mr. Mayor, if it's okay with you, submit to you and the town manager to look into, instead of offsetting their hours, carry a small amount here to, because those, major events like Haymarket Day, you offset the hours, you need their time elsewhere. So it is my recommendation to carry a number here for those additional hours that you would pay your staff, your part-time staff. Bob, what's your thoughts on that?
It's got some employment implications.
But only if it's full-time. I mean, only if it's over a long period of time.
It depends, there are a variety of factors involved, including the age of the employee. I understand where you're coming from, but
Would it give the staff a flexibility of maybe hiring someone part-time just to cover additional hours if they can't use the existing staff?
I think it would be easier to lay on temp staff than it would be to try. I'm comfortable with the way it is right now, just because I don't want to get in a jam.
But where would we, okay, so Haymarket Day, we need to hire a couple more people to help with the
That comes
events.
out of your part-time employment budget or your events budget.
Events budget.
Is that where it comes from right now?
If you hire,
If we did it, it would come from events, but I mean, how we've run it in the last 4 years is we all adjust our schedules and we make it work.
I understand that. And we make it work. And that's something that our staff has always done, make it work. But if we're here putting together the budget and we have the funds to say, hey, team, here is some additional funds from the get-go that you can bump up your admin to work 32 hours instead of 20 for this week. And it's there already approved in the budget, because we can find the funds in order to cover that.
I just don't want to label it as overtime, because that opens a can of worms.
Okay, I like that.
I would rather, coming from an admin perspective, I would rather bump up part-time to have a buffer in there so that it's not just Haymarket Day, it's all of our events, or it's other things such as when Roberta has to do real estate taxes, so that we have flexibility in that line item versus overtime. We try to schedule and I try to schedule and make it so that people know the priorities during events, and we take care of pre-planning, planning, and staying on top of our organization so we don't run into issues the week of events.
But you understand the gist of what I'm trying to get at, though.
Yep.
Yeah, I just wouldn't
So,
address it
That's just
from
not
the-
where it goes.
Right. I
Throw
think that's
it
what
under
they're saying.
part-time
They
as
wanna put
opposed
it
to
in part-time,
overtime.
From a-
bump up part-time.
From an accounting and tracking perspective, that's why they're tracking where their work is going, their hours.
Yep.
And that's the right way to do it, because then you could better budget in the future. And frankly, I think that should come out of the events section. If we're using it for an events promotion or whatever, it should come out of events. That shouldn't be coming out of the regular budget, part-time or full-time.
Okay,
in my opinion.
so this part-time number here, let's say you have Matt that regularly works 20 hours, and this week he works 40 for Haymarket Day. The extra 20 hours comes out of events.
Well, I would ask council to consider how we want to do this moving forward, because we do not pay our police department out of our events budget. So if we're going to do that moving forward, we should probably do it equally across the board.
Yep.
And that we will need to reevaluate all of our events, because that significantly changes
The cost.
how we do it. We have always done it that, town employees show up at the events, we are paid out of our admin line item, we don't charge that to events.
That's a great discussion.
Yep, and being new to this data realization just
Right.
puts us right into where we want to try and analyze this stuff.
It helps you budget better, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanna look at a true cost of what Haymarket Day is and how many staff hours are going into it, That would be why. We could start with part-time, but we weren't tracking hours like that back in October, so we would have to make an estimate.
Yeah, so right now it's difficult.
It would maybe be a good exercise for this year for us to take that into consideration, do the work, because we're at the beginning of our event season for this calendar year. Do the work, Chief tracks his hours on his side with his guys. We track ours on this side, and we come forward with what it looks like. We also now have an events coordinator back in the position, so that's also a little bit different this year. But if anything, I would recommend for this year, we buffer the part-time line item, and then we reevaluate after we've had 1 year to look at it in its entirety.
Yep, and that totally makes sense. I mean, now that we're starting to track by, you know, our timesheets in a two-dimensional array in which we're actually putting time codes on what you do, we can start to realize what the true expenses are. This year, we don't have the data.
Yes, but, so is the directive?
So
for-
where do we put it? Do you want it in overtime? Do you want it in events or
Part-time. I think
part-time?
It would be more beneficial for us as a staff to have the buffered part-time, not only for
Yeah.
events, but other office happenings as they arise.
So, Mr. Mayor, is it just a directive for Emily and Roberto to come up with a number to add to the part-time number here?
Yeah, figure out an adjustment.
If you guys are okay with it, let Roberto and I talk about
Yep.
some different scenarios and what could play out over the next year.
Not including the PD,
Correct.
just admin.
Yes, just admin.
The PD
work.
has enough money.
Yes.
Just checking to see if you're listening.
But in the long term, I'll tell you what, this is all going to be able to be adjusted.
Understood.
Because we'll be able to realize what the true
Understood,
expenses
sir.
are.
Yes.
So let them,
Yeah.
Let them do it off of the gut from their experience.
Come up with what might need to be fixed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Geez, I thought we finished by the time I came out.
What?
And I will use this to promote my framework. I get everybody rolling their eyes on that one.
Just when I thought you weren't going to go political on us.
I'll make
Okay.
a clear motion here and then
So-
you take that off.
So the
Okay.
line item,
La-
Roberto?
Next line item is the health insurance. Insurance did go up a bit, 4.7% overall. Compared to other jurisdictions, though, very minimal. We're seeing other jurisdictions are seeing an increase of 11%. So, okay.
Yeah.
The unemployment insurance, just wanted to address, to correct that as we were having the full board. So make sure that all the boards, unemployment, we do have to pay it to the state, and just want to, we all track it under admin to make it simple. So I just wanted to correct that. Workers' compensation did go up a bit, not by much, but it did. The general liability insurance, that also increased a bit. The remaining line items, I did not really change because, as you can see, we're pretty much on par to what we spend.
Okay.
Then, Councilman Morris, your favorite section.
Oh, attorney?
Yes, the legal fees.
Oh, wait, Roberto, can I ask you
Yes.
to pause before we go on to the legal services? Line item 12-11-021, the convention and education. I really think that it's important with the changing in staff here on the admin side that this council fully supports you guys and your potential new roles, your new staff, trainings. And now that we're coming out of this pandemic, I want you guys to be able to attend conventions and connect with your colleagues and connect with other departments and things. And I sat down with you before this meeting and we went over some of the previous expenditures for this specific line item for the admin. And we saw expenses or budgets as big as $10,000. And we see in 2018, $5,266.78. And I recall it was because 3 staff members went to a convention that year, and that was the expense. Is that correct?
Yeah, so you're correct. In prior years, some of the prior employees did attend more of the annual conventions and educational courses and accreditation courses. Since 2017, that has obviously been reduced, and that's just for many factors, but different reasons. But yes, I mean, with the new staff we have, it would be nice to have, but that is something that is up to council.
Right.
In prior
so-
years, has not been an issue because we've always just tried to make it work and work within the budget.
Right. So with the 2018 numbers, if we kept this proposed budget at 6,000, we would pretty much be out of funds just through 3 conventions. I mean, I'm kind of chopping it up to that, but
So in 2000,
how do we ensure that all of our staff is fully supported?
So in 2018 was the first year that I actually was able to attend the Treasurers Convention, and also at the time, the town manager, she had the opportunity to do a few of her town manager duties as well as some planning, because at the time,
Okay.
Ms. Murray did have certifications in planning or development. So, yeah, so she attended some of those events. So yes, they could get pretty pricey. Also,
Somebody to Canada?
Yeah.
also with
that's what
the
comes
current
with a lot of this.
acting town manager, it'd be a great opportunity for her to take some additional courses too. She wants,
Absolutely.
leadership courses and attend them, and or clerk, as
I think
well.
it's really important that we support you in furthering your career and invest in you, because you're investing in our town. So I would like to ask council to consider maybe increasing this to allow for all of our staff to attend, the appropriate events or trainings, to also include our part-time and ensure that they're fully supported.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would like to see a little bit more. I mean, at the VML, I felt lonely there. Okay, I watched Vienna come in with a team of 8.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I would like to include my town manager at these VML events.
Like the mayor and the posse.
Not only because it's beneficial for the education they get, but just the networking that they get.
A different point you're arguing, sir, because they did not attend because we didn't have the money. We had the money.
Well,
You're
I don't know if the
debating-
budget was big enough and that they
It's
felt
still there.
promoted, and if they felt welcomed or.
Been there.
Well, I would like to invite you guys to come up to me and give me opportunities to say yes or no. I don't see that activity going on, and I would love to see that activity.
That has nothing.
And
that
I'd
has
like
no-
to make sure that there was funding in it for it.
I think the budget amount is appropriate, it's just we're not taking advantage of it.
Exactly.
And
That's
if-
what I'm
If
saying.
we need more money, we can always move it later
Right.
on, but
So council is aware, you're right, the funds are there, will be probably more, I'm not sure, maybe, possibly, but in past too, you also have to realize too that we are, many people may not know this, but we are a staff of 4. And the max we've ever had is 4, sometimes 3. So it's also the fact that pretty hard to leave the office when we're all departments of 1 as well.
we've also got a lot of this stuff trending towards virtual presentations. More and more, the CLEs kind of stuff is going virtual.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think it's a matter of what the mayor is saying. I don't think it's a matter of him being lonely, which is a totally moot point. But, but I think the money has always been there. It's just the availability of the staff and to include it. And we have no track record to move it up past 6,000.
Or the culture to even include them.
And the thing is,
And I want to make sure they understand that.
yeah, they know that, and it's recorded. The thing is, if in the first 3 months of this budget we bust the 6,000, money is going to be there from us to bump it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Just take care of it. in
I
the
appreciate
second
this
quarter
platform to have
amendment.
that discussion. Yeah.
Joe?
Well, I'm going to just keep pushing that issue now. So, I have a question. So where, yeah,
clock's
forget
ticking.
about
Your
it,
clock's
forget it,
ticking.
forget it, it's gone. I mean, listen, I agree with the idea, we can always make an adjustment during the season, but what is the plan? Again, what kind of classes do we think we need to go to? Do we have certifications, AICP, Treasure, whatever it is, LMFA or whatever the heck it is? The question is, what is the personnel manual saying about training and education? Is there anything in the personnel manual? Have you guys worked on that at all?
Hey,
Talked
don't,
about it?
listen, man, listen, we're getting there, okay?
No, but I'm just saying.
But
this-
it is, education is in the personnel manual, but I'll give you a good, I'll give you
How
a
does
good
it
example.
inform the budget? That's my question. How does it inform?
I'll give you a good example. The lady, our last admin assistant, whose last day was today, right? She did a QuickBooks course that she found online for free. The new one that got hired last week, she's doing a course, or she will be doing a course, that's online, that's for free. So there is training that the staff is pushing the other staff into. I think the biggest question is asking each individual staff is to look at your schedule, look at what courses are out there, and share openly with your direct line what courses you would like to attend. And from there, we develop we would add to the manual, or make sure the manual supports it.
I mean, obviously, whatever the training is, it's not only supports the employee, but it also supports the town.
Of course,
The office mission.
yeah.
Right, the mission, the vision, whatever. And there has to be some kind of a policy around it, that's all I'm saying. But it makes a lot of sense
Yes.
to do that.
Emily, discussion next week, manual.
Yeah, you guys can have fun with that one. We'll stick to numbers.
No, good.
Oh, good point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so moving forward, the legal budget line item. As you can see, I did increase it. I will be very honest with you all that I'm not sure if even this will be enough, depending on what what is happening in the town. There's a lot going on that we would definitely need to make sure that the town's best interest is in it, and our town attorney is there for that. So we bumped it up to 80,000. As you can currently see, we are, as of March, already at 60,675. There are some cases that are ongoing right now that has driven that cost. About, I think last time I thought the breakdown was about 17,000 of it was due to just a single case within the town.
Right.
Yep.
And
Can I
then there's
speak
a,
on that, Mr. Mayor?
yes.
Yeah, feel free.
So, beginning in June, we're going to have a different format with the attorney. And Mr. Mayor, if it's okay with you, I think as a council, we need to discuss it in work session
Yep.
and or closed session as far as how we intend to have the order of the council meetings, the agenda,
The agenda, yep.
because,
He will be hourly instead of
right,
event
and
charge.
that's going to affect this number even more than the 10,000 that you're adding to it, if we keep the format that we've been operating on,
Yeah, we should probably consider moving
which is why I'm
closed session
asking,
to like 6 o'clock.
which is why I'm saying we need a discussion for the rest of the council to vote on it and to agree on it. And
Do it similar to what the school board does, call the meeting to order, go into closed session.
you're going
come
into
out.
making decisions, and I'm just saying we need to add it to an agenda item.
Yeah, I mean, that's simple. We could just change the,
Yeah,
what is it, the council rules?
get this coming work session if the mayor is okay with it.
Yeah, we'll need to discuss that.
Put it
So
under-
Put it on the,
Put it under the council rules of procedure, because you'll have to change it there and vote on it.
yeah.
Mr. Mayor, does this need to be a closed session? It doesn't, right?
No.
Okay.
Not
for that
the
discussion.
rules, procedures.
Thank you, sir. Outside of that, this may be the first year that I tend to agree with an increase.
Well, the difficult part here, though, is that there's a convolution of when legal fees are charged and what they're charged under. I mean, we got land planning in which all of a sudden we get these legal fees, yet they all seem to roll under here, but they're not realized within land planning. Any type of event, when we start to open up tot tax, it seems like we're going to be all of a sudden stuck with having all the checks and balances done legally by admin. How is that going to roll into our budget? Is that going to be an item under the tot tax, or is that going to be under the legal fees? I mean, we got a convolution here that's really going to screw us if we don't understand how we're going to map this out into our budget. Bob?
I hate saying this, but I don't think 80,000 is enough.
I agree, and that's because I feel we're not realizing
but I wanna
it because of
qualify
the
that.
convolution.
I want to qualify that. 80,000 is not enough, and it's because of matters that are outside of our control. We're having to expend legal resources on things that we shouldn't have to spend legal resources on. And we're doing it again right now, today,
Yep.
for things that are beyond the control of this town council, of this town management, of anybody, because we're being placed in particularly untenable situations. And I'll just leave it at that, because I'm not going to cast any aspersions, but I would strongly suggest we raise this at the very least to 90.
Joe, what do you think? Because I'm cheering no, because the mayor already spoken, so, he's supposed to go last. But go ahead, Joe. What are you?
Well, if you look at what happened last year,
Again, are the circumstances beyond.
Totally agree, Bob.
I think we may have to really consider increasing it even higher. I mean, there is a lot of stuff that's still out there from carryover from last year, and we're finding a reliance on the attorney to clean some stuff up that we found this year that will probably extend into next year, but don't know for sure, but better to be safe, I would think. I don't know. Roberta, what do you think?
I agree. I agree.
We have one major item that if we don't finish prior to June 30th, it is scheduled for August. So, I mean, that right there is a lot. I think that a recommendation of a bigger increase to 90 could be justified.
Thank you. Ramirez.
I obviously have not had the experience with these legalities that you all have. I think I joined the team a little bit later in this adventure. So I don't really feel like I have the experience to know just how involved things can get. So I'm
They
gonna.
get expensive quickly when it comes to attorney time.
I am sure, especially if things are changing to hourly, so I'm not against increasing it, I don't have a different perspective to share.
And the rates go up.
Right, that's true.
I agree with 90, sir. I'm handing it back over to you as a chair. Roberto, can we change it?
Correction.
Yeah, I can
Yep.
make, so the purpose of, just so you guys are aware, the purpose is I'm going to make the changes today as we're talking.
Yep.
and-
No, perfect, man.
Okay.
Perfect. You're right on. And please note, this is the first year I'm agreeing to increasing it.
God, that gives
So
me
across the
heartburn to do
board,
that.
straw man, 90, everyone
Yep.
happy with 90?
For now.
I'm good.
For now, I have a suspicion it's not enough.
Yeah, but we'll address that later on.
Address that quarterly.
So, but
It's giving me heartburn now, it really is.
Okay.
Sorry, Martin, it just gives me heartburn to pay you more money.
Okay, good. Moving forward, the audit, this is the audit services. This is for our annual audit. I have, to be very fair, I have not been able to discuss with Michael potential increase or looked at the renewal contract, but I went with what a worst case scenario has been in the past, 7% increase, assuming there will be one.
That's a good idea.
So, but if I do get more information before we go to publication, I'll definitely address that with you guys.
Even though the 5 years prior, we didn't have an increase?
Yes, 5 years prior, we didn't have an increase, but we also requested to get a presentation done by him now too, as well.
Thank you.
And the
Now it's
following,
glossy time?
yes, please open up your books. Get ready for Chief Seibert's presentation on the budget.
Where's his printing budget? Where's the printing budget?
Giving you a run for your money, Roberto.
No, that's not why. Stop.
That was good, Roberto.
Seems to track to me.
I was just fixing to say that you and Emily helped me on this, but now, never mind. All right, welcome, everybody. It's good to see you all again. As you open up the books, as presented, as Emily said, open your books. Page 2, I'm not going to go through all the upserts, but I do want to read 2 portions of that, and it's towards the bottom. In preparation of this budget, several resources were used, such as past budget, invoice tracking, future budget forecasting, current status of equipment, future department needs, future community needs, known factors, personal knowledge, and just flat out good old common sense.
Where'd you find that?
Never leave that out. That was you. That was you, Bob. That was you, Bob.
Okay.
And thank you to the town manager, finance committee, treasurer, and council for all your assistance and guidance. Again, you all really support this department and our needs, and we really appreciate everything that you do for us. On page 3, you'll see just a quick snapshot of the line item breakdown with percentages that you can reference throughout as you want to, or just a good go back. And then moving on, obviously salaries on 01, on page 4, we did a breakdown. And you'll see pie charts throughout, basically, but some of the pie charts indicate increases, but actually some of them will show where the money is being spent in that line item, specifically if there's multiple issues being addressed. So in looking at the 464,507 with the increase of 39,507, in part was due to a shortfall on the current budget that we're not budgeted properly to pay the salaries that we currently have. We will not have an issue with that because you all did go out with the chief for several months. So it's not an issue this year, but we have to rectify it before next year because we are fully staffed, and I anticipate that we'll stay fully staffed. Then another contributing factor will be the proposed COLA increase, which Roberto's already outlined in his presentation. That's just our share of that. And then the proposed increase in the salary for the promotion of one officer of a 4% increase. And then, of course, I did throw those out there if you needed to look at any or wanted anything addressed out there that you could see it in the pie chart of the reasons.
It's rolling, man.
Okay, good deal. Moving on to page 5, 03 line item with the salaries of overtime and premium. Again, looked at what we've been tracking and making sure that we had a good estimate of what we're seeing and how it's going. And you can see in the breakdown actually where the money's being spent. Of course, now when you get into the ECOs, duty, shift coverage, and training, that's a multi-purpose line item. You can see that is the larger portion of it. And explaining just a couple of those things, obviously we don't control when we have an ECO. And then there is training needs that we have to have that we can't just do in piecemeal. We have to have all members present, which we've already done one of those this year. Because of the specificity of the training that we're having, we can't do it. I can't have a TASER instructor come in every day of the week just to get each person as they show. So that's just kind of some breakdown there. And then obviously shift coverage if somebody comes in late, and then just flat out duty. Sometimes you get called up. This evening we were dealing with a train issue, and one of our guys had to stay over, trying to work some traffic issues, things like that. So that's just kind of what I was looking at there. But it gives you a breakdown of where we're spending the money at and what it's for, including events. Line item 13, salaries. Increased traffic enforcement. This was an issue related by council. Again, if we would just up that, I just looked at a 20%. Council didn't have any specific needs to address that would dictate that, but I felt that a 20% increase at that small a number was not too much to ask for. Again, that's our select enforcement. And of course, our goal with that is not a money generation. It is the fact of keeping this a pedestrian-friendly and safe town. Page 6, holiday wages. Obviously, we pay for holidays, your holiday pay. Again, we had a proposed shortfall, and the adjustment to get us to where we need to be on that would be $5,059, and that is going to impact us this year. We are already over budget in that line item, so that's just to get us back to static. And then with the proposed COLA adjustment, if seen fit by council, we would need another $1,073 to cover that, with a total of a $6,132 increase. If you look to the bottom of the page, there's an option 2. Not every place does this. Some offices do and some don't. But they pay a time and a half for your holiday wages for the person who's actually working. Now, you may ask, why would you want to do that? Now, it's not a big deal on holidays that some people don't really celebrate with family or travel. But on other holidays that people like off, Thanksgiving, Christmas, things like that, it does become a little bit burdensome to try to make sure that it's staffed. Obviously, our part-time's limited, and we can't give everybody off. So usually somebody has to bite the bullet on those days, but with a little incentive, it might be a little less hard to chew, the fact
And
that
that's
they have
limited to those actually working the holiday, correct?
actually working the holiday. They have to work it. And that is just an option. I think it is a very good retention tool.
Anybody opposed to invoking the option?
That's only a $4,000 delta.
Roberto, make
It
the
is.
change.
It is.
Yeah.
And it would be a very small increase, again, had we been where we're supposed to be in that line item. Right now, the 5,000 is just to get us back to static, the first 5,000 of that. So, but it's an option. It is a good retention tool. I'm not going to overtalk it. You know the reasons. If you have to work on Christmas, at least it makes it a little bit easier to know that you can pay for your presents that you didn't get to see opened.
Is that your recommendation, Chief?
Sir, that is a recommendation. There's other things I wanted to do for retention, but I felt during the year that we're having and with the increases that we needed to make to get the budget correct and proper, that I didn't want to go overboard. So I've limited those, and I know that in discussion with you, you know which one of those are, and I'm going to address that here shortly.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, could we entertain a discussion on that option?
Yes.
I don't think there's any,
I don't think there's really any, I think we're all totally in agreement with it.
But we need to voice it.
I love it, Chief.
Roberto, do it. There.
Like I said, we're looking at 4,000, but this is pretty much an adjustment that's needed
this-
to just get up to static.
This puts to bed an issue that we had with expectations previously of, well, it's Christmas, and even though I'm not working, I get paid time and a half.
No, that's,
No.
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
I know,
you know where I'm going with
Yeah,
it.
Roger
Yeah.
that.
So
No,
if
it's-
we're-
it's
I have
clear
no-
cut.
I have no issues with
This
this.
is for somebody out there.
It's not paying to keep, and again, it's not paying to keep people from their family. It's just for the ones that we can't give off.
Yeah, I get
They
it.
have a little extra incentive. It's a little bit more palatable.
I'm just putting it in that particular tone because of some previous issues.
And if you have a part-time officer working, they will get time and a
Time
half.
and a half.
Yes, sir, yes, sure. If you allow that.
And with
It
this-
still will go out of the part-time wages, but we can pay that.
Okay, but this line item, does it affect, will it be coming out of this line item, which 004?
No, sir, it would come out of the part-time because this is for full-time staff. on the-
Okay,
on the
so
wages.
So do you
how do we
have-
make the adjustments
Yeah.
then to make sure, Roberto, that the part-time allotted amount there isn't a shortfall because
In case you have to use.
in case you have to use that part-time officer to work the time and a half,
Or do we
the
make
holiday?
another?
Do we need a holiday line item?
We have one.
This is,
No, this is
Holiday
full-time.
pay line item should cover it regardless of status.
I can do that. I can do that, but obviously, we know that we only pay the holiday wages currently for full-time staff.
Yeah.
And
But
how many-
that would necessarily cover the part-timer if the part-timer was covering for the full-timer. So you'd actually come out ahead. So I think from an accounting standpoint,
But they're trying to, because they're.
from an accounting standpoint, I think we're okay.
Yes, but
Well, let him.
No, Bob's kind of hit the nail on the head there, because we obviously pay our part-timers less than we do our full-time staff. So on the hourly rate. so that we would come out okay, but I would have to do an analysis of that to make sure that
It
we're
won't
good.
come out ahead. You take money away from your part-time. The only way this works is if the holiday payment comes only out of this, whether they're part-time or full-time.
That's what it, that's the way
Yeah.
it's budgeted.
But let me ask Roberto now. Roberto, is that the way it happens? That's what we're saying right now, moving forward. Is it possible to keep this line item 004, and from 004, we pay out all time and a half?
It should.
That's
From an accounting
questionable.
standpoint, it shouldn't matter the status, because you're setting aside a set amount of dollars
Yes.
for what is cataloged as a full-time position, which is a higher per-hour rate. So if you're replacing the higher per-hour rate employee with a part-timer,
You are correct.
it should, we should be
You are,
fine.
Lower.
you are correct. However, if the part-time payment is being taken out of part-time
It's not,
item.
it comes out of the holiday line item.
No. Listen. Ask the treasurer. It doesn't.
One thing I gotta, our part-timers are, because the way their part-timers are used as needed, they're at a higher rate. So if you do that, the part-timers potentially can make more than what a full-time officer makes by using time and a half. Because of their status, prior council increased the hourly rate for those part-timers, so potentially by them working,
Part-timers
they,
more than our full-timers?
if you were to work,
On an hourly rate, but
On
when
an
you
hourly
realize
rate.
it with the insurance and everything else
right,
that's
because they don't have
associated.
benefits, they don't have health insurance, they don't participate in VRS. But if you do that, just letting you know, they are actually a higher rate than a full-time employer.
It will not work out in the long run, but my suggestion would be to increase this line item 004 at a smaller number than the 10,139, and also increase the 005 salaries part-time at whatever rate you set it at, chief, so that when a part-time works and deserves time and a half, it comes out of line item 005. When a full-time officer works during this holiday season and deserves time and a half, it comes out of 004.
I think you make the adjustment in the holiday pay if that's where you're gonna be paying for.
But what I'm saying, Bob, is that right now, we don't pay them from 004.
But that's the way the budget's set up.
But Roberta has not been doing it, so something has to change.
That's between them. But I mean, how they wanna manipulate it is up to them. But from a standpoint of how it's budgeted, this is the line item it should come from.
Roberta, is there a problem in taking it?
They can work out the mechanics.
Yeah. Joe, you have a comment?
Well, there's two things here. First of all, we have to come to an agreement that we're going to go with time and a half for the full-time and the part-time.
Correct.
Okay, so that's the first question. Second question is, I think they need to sit down, figure it out, and come back to us and see how it all
Maps.
maps out, thank you, maps out before we publish the budget for the public. However it works.
I don't think it's gonna make a difference.
Philosophically, I think it should come out of the holiday pay, but they work it out.
It's going to be higher.
Well, run the numbers. Let's
Right.
run the numbers and see where the
I'm
numbers
not
fall.
convinced.
Larry?
So,
What's that?
I'm not convinced it's gonna be higher.
Okay, let's run the
so,
numbers and see.
I agree with you, Joe. I want to see the numbers to make sure that, because I am totally 100% supportive of the time and a half for both full-time and part-time. I want to make sure that you have enough money to do that. So if you can come back with the numbers, if we have part-time involved in this, if this number can cover that, then great. But I want to make sure that we fully support you and we can agree on that final number for you.
Yes, ma'am. Wordman and I just talked. We can come up with a number, and I don't think it's going to be a huge difference in the number.
Okay.
Right.
But we will come back with a number and advise you.
From an accounting perspective, where it's going to be drawn from.
I'll
That's
leave
the
that up to
question.
Roberto, and we can make it work.
Right.
So,
What are my
yeah,
feelings
it's-
on that?
and so from an accounting perspective, I would take it out holiday pay. Yeah,
There we go.
so there you go. It wouldn't matter if you're part-time, wouldn't matter if full-time, that's just where we would categorize it, yep, we just set it up.
Talking about that at the personnel, make sure it's in the personnel, no, never mind.
Yeah.
Actually, we will, because
Personnel
we've got,
liaison about that.
we will, because Cass has been in trouble for that reason.
But please make sure that we understand the realization when it comes to the impact on the, the insurance and any of the FICA stuff.
So-
Because that's where the convolution actually happens, and that's where we end up having problems.
So just so you get an idea, Mayor, for adjusting that, the FICA is not per employee, it's just the overall lump sum number. So whatever the total number is, yes, this will be adjusted a bit. It'll be off, yeah, and then VRS is paid off of their salaried amount. Doesn't matter if they're overtime and all that. Also, the only thing that this could change, and will change actually, is the workers' comp.
Yeah.
Because that ups the overall, but we already submitted that, so it would be, they would have to do an adjustment when the time comes at the end of the year.
Yep, no matter how you look at it, there's going to be a Benny versus a no Benny.
But
Impact.
we'll make it work. I'll work on it with Chief.
Okay, good.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you entertaining that. Page 7, part-time salaries. As you can see, that is it's a pretty stringent raise that we're looking at, or increase in that item. And if you look at some of the contributing factors about the ECOs that we've had lately, of course, the amount of sick leave, and then dealing with COVID, you're actually having to give people off who's not even sick just because they've come into contact. And I like to think that we're going to continue with the no barriers and the no mask and all that, but I don't know. I have to prepare for the worst. We also took into account the amount of hours that our officers currently have that they can take off, and then future needs. Obviously, the officers advising of their future family plans and having to deal with that. We're currently on track to use 1,000 hours or more this current year. So this is, again, one of those unknown factors. You try to stick the dart in the board as best you can, and I had some consultation, obviously, with Mr. Morris, which was always nice to get his feel on things and his experience. And we're thinking at 36, and I mean that's including time spent by the sergeant and myself covering some shifts and doing some things when it comes down to it. It's not just us sitting in the office and constantly calling in part-timers to do the job. The breakdown, as you can see, again, with the ECO's duty and shift coverage training is the lion's share. And I have been tracking where every hour is spent, whether it's covering somebody who's called in sick, covering a vacation, no matter what, a training issue, whatever it might be. So next year I'll have a probably even a little bit better tuned and pinpoint pie chart on where we're actually spending our money on that line item.
I don't think we're going to see any decrease in ECO issues in the near future, given the way things are trending.
And keep in mind, we do try to mitigate that. We try to keep in contact with those individuals and making sure that they're staying on their medication and things like
There's
that.
only so much you can do.
It's true. It's very true.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
the only caution I had for you, Chief, is the reason we landed at 18,720 last year was because we did not have any form of institutional knowledge as to where it lands. So this coming season at 31,000 is going to be the real proof for us to watch that trend to see if that's where it needs to be. So you have to feel comfortable with that 31,000.
Well, it's actually 36. We did raise
I'm
it,
sorry.
that extra 5,000 to 36.
Where you got that from? Where you got that
The
36
newest
from?
one. He's looking at the big,
No, I had it printed out and I had my notes on the old one. You increased it by 5? That's a good idea.
Yeah, it was a good idea.
Pie chart there for you.
No, I would say, can I say that I'm comfortable even in that figure?
Okay.
No, but do I feel that it's, looking at the data and everything that I've extrapolated and tried to figure out, is it a good number? Yes.
Okay.
But, as well as I do, the wheels can come off any bus at any time. You plan for the best, but planning for the worst, I could have doubled that figure, and who knows where we would have been. But obviously, you have to use your experience and good common sense to look up your figures and come up with a number. I think it's a good number.
Quite honestly, this is what we've always been looking for as a council. Someone who's able to stand behind the numbers and justify them. So, you have our full support.
I do. You all have been nothing but supportive, and I can't tell you again how much I appreciate it. I love it here. It's the best job I ever had.
We love you.
Well, thank you.
Well, speak for yourself.
But but we're gonna work to keep that number.
Oh, let's move along.
I love you, Chief.
I love you too. We'll work to keep that number where we can. Page 8. I've lumped all these together because they're all benefits. There's not one thing in these things that I can dictate. It's all dictated by what you all approve, and then of course, if again with the wages on the holiday side, if there might be a little change in some of that. But again, it's just an incurred cost, and the good thing and good news about that is they're known factors. Legal services on page 9 on the top there, line item 28, as you can see, 5% increase that was set by our attorney, and that's just the increase, and just is what it is. Line item 32, what we did in talking with Finance Committee, it was brought out that all the IT stuff we were actually purchasing in the past, we were purchasing equipment out of that line item as well, and that's really not what that line item is for. Line item 45 is for purchase of equipment. So in the opinion of the Finance Committee, we requested to move transfer $6,000 out of that line item to line item 45, and when we get to that page, you'll see that transfer as well.
Before you go on, though, I would like to backtrack a little bit to page 8.
Sure.
As you can see, we do a realization of our figures, and we're actually aware of where we are spending things. And as you can see, you do have a decrease in line item 22, line item 26, line item 21. So you are seeing a decrease. So we are being vigilant with what we're doing here.
Yes.
And we are trying to be responsible with this money and make sure that everything's good. So any of these increases you see are actually fact-based increases, just off of showing how this is showing how we can actually decrease in the long run.
Exactly.
So, sorry, continue on.
No, point well taken for to be put up on the dais. That was a good point. So again, back to line item 32, the transfer. We're going to keep would like to keep the IT funds where they're at. We could have, as I put in there, we could have shown a decrease, but when moving that, we just wanted to transfer that to the equipment side. Postage, I actually still have some stamps in my drawer from the last administration, so we'll just keep it there in case something pops up, but right now we're in good shape on that.
Yeah, if you set it by the post office, it'll take 6 months to get.
That's right. Well, as long as they're whatever the every no cost stamps,
Yeah, they are. They are.
it's the forever stamps. There we go.
Line item 34, you can see that there's a 20% increase, but you do see a breakdown of what the services are for right there, and those increases are, at just price of doing business. It wasn't something that we could control one way or the other. Property insurance, again, you see for the mayor's purpose, there was a decrease in $100 of that line item to meet what we needed. Meals and lodging, I know that maybe some of you see as a zero, but we have moved that up to $1,000. Not really a transfer where we want that money. Of course, that was to mitigate a couple circumstances. If we do, we can use that obviously on convention and training for the lodging and meals expenses, but also if we do have an extradition, that goes into that as well. And if we during the accreditation process, we actually will need the lodging and meals for the accreditation crew that comes in to assess us.
Didn't that also be an extended ECO circumstances?
Very, very, yes, it could, for sure, depending. Especially depending on if it transitions into a TDO, where it would go. So, convention and education, again, consulting with Mr. Morris. One of the things that I wanted to do this year was implement in this coming budget year is a career development plan. But considering where we're at, and a couple other factors, is the fact that nobody in my department, with the exception of maybe one, would meet the standards in the next budget year. So we decided to kick that can down the highway another year. Again, not the simple fact that you all have to approve it next year, but I will be presenting it next year. But with that, with those standards comes training that they have to take. So we decided to keep that line item at 10,000 so that we could prep the staff this year, in this coming budget year, to be properly trained and meet the requirements for the career development program advancements in the next budget year, should council see fit to fund that program. So moving forward, annual dues and subscriptions, you can see a breakdown again of where the money is going. You'll see one little notation that I do want to throw out there about the X26 purchases.
Yeah, I thought we just bought new ones not too long ago.
You did, and this would be something I would love to have you on the phone with one time. I've already duked it out
I
with
can make myself available.
with Axon before. Axon has a 5-year end-of-use life with their tasers. You can still use them, but you lose the liability insurance that comes with them. And I argued the fact that how can something wear out in 5 years when you don't use it hardly ever? And the lady come back and says, well, how often do you replace your cell phone? I said, well, about every 2 years. She said, see, it's electronic. I said,
Well, then you get me on the phone, because I replace
Well-
mine about every 10
well,
years.
I said, well, I use my phone about 1,000 times a day, but I'm not going to use that taser once in a year. But nevertheless, but what we did, referring back to my Winchester days, is we continued to use the tasers and made sure that they were fully operational and in good working status. And then if one broke, we replaced the one. We didn't just sit there and say, okay, because of your 5-year end-of-life policy that your CEO wrote when he was your lawyer, decided to put that little tidbit in there that we're not going to change him on that. And so that's what I recommend, is that we just continue to go down that road, and when one breaks, we fix it or replace it. So that's the reason for that little notation in there. Matter of fact, just to let you know that outrageous quote was $5,000 a year, and as you can see, we have been paying $1,900. So, and again, that covers the taser body-worn camera, our academy fees, which increased by 20%, and then possibly some other associated costs that we're looking at with other things, but that's just a nominal fee. Office supplies, again, no increase. We feel that the 5,000 will keep us in the round where we're at. If you go over to page 12, vehicle fuels. What did you have?
Big question mark.
Yeah. I thought we had agreed to leave this at 4 a gallon.
The last one I discussed, we went to 5. We said 5 because, and that was just a post-Ukrainian invasion right there.
Okay.
So we went with the 5 out of the 720 that we use a month. And of course, the rate, you look at the inflation rate, the increases, where you're showing on your increase there, Roberto? He says that his figure and my figure's not jiving.
Yeah, that's
That
where
looks too big.
Yeah, I have.
I thought 30,000 was based on 5.
No, that was, I set that rate on 4 when we were discussing it, and that was pre-Ukrainian invasion at
No,
Finance Committee.
I thought we didn't we raise it when he wasn't in the meeting the other day? When he was gone? Didn't we raise the
talked about it.
allotment?
I thought we talked about it with the chief.
I thought we raised it to 30,000 like 2 weeks ago.
I have it as 30,000.
Yeah, that
Total?
total,
Yeah.
after the adjustment, because we just did that, right?
We did, but double check the numbers.
Double check the numbers, but I thought we had factored that in, the $5 to the 30.
The only thing I changed from my original numbers after the Ukrainian invasion, and the prices really started to ramp up. I think we were in the high 2s at that point or something like that, and they ramped up to the $4. At that time, I remember looking that AAA was expecting the gas prices to max out at $4 a gallon. And then Ukrainian invasion happened, and we was up at $4.20 before that draft even got seen by Finance Committee.
Let me talk
basically.
about this on Thursday, and we'll come back, because
Right,
I
but-
think we need to get our numbers in,
Okay.
in
We-
line
we
here.
We can get our numbers in line, but if you look at the two different, the shortfall that we currently have and then the inflation rate that we have to account for.
Yeah.
Which brought me up to the increase of the 27 too. So, but we can work those numbers out, but I don't think they're gonna change on my end, quite frankly, but we'll see what we can work out on that.
Bob, what are you saying, that you had the
I
proposed
thought we had
amount?
already increased it based on $5 a gallon.
Increased
2 weeks
it, increased it by 30?
No, increased it to 30
230?
from whatever it was previously. We'll go back and check.
Yeah.
Next time, don't change the numbers and the chief is not in the meeting.
We gave him more money.
No,
Yeah,
he
no-
said he increased it.
The increase that I made was after the Ukrainian invasion to $5 a gallon.
Yeah.
And that's what got us,
I do
that's what
remember-
got us to the number that we're at right now.
Talking $5 a gallon.
I thought that's where we came up with the 30.
No, I
Yeah,
No,
we,
we were-
no.
So-
Gentlemen, so I was there at the meeting, the conversation happened.
I'm getting old.
So we had originally a 30. Chief came back after the Ukraine. I remember that conversation. We were talking about increasing it, but the conversation happened with one of the liaisons said, let's leave it at 30, but most likely we're going to have to address it because we don't know what the moving target will be. That was the conversation we had.
That's what it was.
And the $5, Chief is correct, he did mention the $5 Ukraine, but even then, I believe when I walked out, the reason why I didn't change it is because I think the consensus was to keep it at 30, but knowing they could probably change.
Okay.
And
Seems like a lot of people walking in and out of that meeting.
So
Yeah.
the question is, do we make the change to the $5 an hour, which is that number there on the top of page
Or
12?
do we wait the Ukrainian situation out?
What I had said on that, just to not to interrupt you, was that,
Go ahead.
you know that I'm a frugal commander and I'm not
Right.
just gonna spend money willy-nilly.
Right.
If prices drop, I wasn't just gonna sit there and say, well, let me spend that money
Well,
elsewhere.
we would,
That I would
There's an
return
amendment.
it, and that's when we agreed
that's right,
to
you
the,
did say that.
to the $5, and that's where I had cut it at
Okay.
that point.
No, he did,
Yep.
that's exactly what he said.
so.
And
I
our
could-
reserves will dry up
would you
before
want me
the,
to change it to his number to match
I think
his?
you
the
have to
wells
change it to
get
that.
tapped. You know that wells get drilled and everything, so I have a feeling it will go up to $5.
No, it's gonna pass $5.
Well, yeah, it's going to pass $5, but at least we're
All right.
We'll see.
putting a $5 as opposed to a $4 cap on it.
So the proposed amount is 43,200?
Correct.
Yes.
sir. Okay.
Yes, and we did talk about that $5 a gallon.
I'm getting old.
That was when Bob left the meeting.
Could very well be.
He was out smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, 'cause
No,
there's
the
a lot
chief-
of in and
chief-
out.
I know that he did get a phone call on one of those meetings and walked out for a second, but I don't remember if that was the one.
So just to be
well be.
clear, since we're live, I went ahead and changed it to the chief's number, so it's now at 43,200.
And that was based on the hybrid,
Correct.
Correct, sir.
Yeah, you don't want to look at the full take-home cost.
no.
Well, that is in that option
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, it's an option,
The
but
Finance Committee had asked me, as you know, Finance
We did.
Liaison,
Liaisons asked you to put it.
asked me to put the numbers up.
Right,
Those are
so
the numbers.
everybody
Now,
can see it.
they do not include the routine maintenance increase, which I think I factored to be 11% on the first year. The second year, 11% on the first year. The second year, or the next year, if that was included again, I would have to reevaluate where we're at on tire depths and brake depths, and I'll do all that analysis again to see what we need that year. But the gas, as you can see, would be a substantial increase by itself, almost doubling where we would be at right now. And then we would still have to factor in the cumulative costs such as the general and routine maintenance.
Anybody want to talk about the option?
don't want to address that one.
God bless you.
Okay.
All right.
Not the option, but I do want to talk about any vehicles. Are there any, is there a discussion for the vehicles that may need to be replaced in the next year, or we're not looking at?
No, we're looking at that, and I've already submitted a 5-year plan to the Finance Committee on the vehicles. Now, if you look at Appendix A, and you might ask why I didn't imprint this in there, and I'll tell you, is because this changes daily. So if I put it in this book, you always think that those numbers remain. If you look at this book next month, the numbers will be the same, but they're not.
Yeah.
So you can ask me for an updated appendix if you want.
All right.
That's the current mileage, or average mileage that we're at right now, but there is a 5-year plan for vehicle replacement that we've already looked at, prepared for.
And Chief, when would that plan kick in?
First vehicle would be.
Next fiscal year, right?
Yes, not this one that we're talking.
But the next one.
Next.
So 2024.
2024.
2024 budget, 2023 calendar year.
Right.
Of course, keep in mind, that's an unknown circumstance.
Yeah, unless
You're only one
Finley keeps finding deer in the middle of the road.
Yeah. If you drop a transmission in a vehicle with 100 and some plus thousand, you have to start to negotiate whether you wanted to fix the vehicle. Transmissions right now are about $6 or $7 grand a piece, and continue driving and get it out. So
Well, at this point in the market, given what the
Can't buy a
markup
vehicle.
is, you're probably better off getting a new transmission than getting a new
That's right.
vehicle.
if you can find one.
If
Yeah,
you
you-
can find one.
Probably easier to find a transmission than a vehicle, so.
Anything else, Mr. Morris, on that? Okay, good deal. Vehicle supplies and maintenance, that's a moderate increase. That's not a lot of money, even though it sounds like a 36%. That's not a lot of money. I think it's a decent number. We were on track for that this year until Finley started finding deer and pipes in the middle of the road and things like that. I
Have you
think
sent him to driver's ed?
I need to. So I think where we're at, and of course we checked all of our tires, the depths, what we anticipate the end life use on each set of tires is, brakes included, all that. We tried to make it as much known factor as we can, and that's the number we came up with. But it is I think it's still a small increase. Moving on to page 13, uniforms and supplies, you'll see that the transfer that we talked about earlier from IT, that's the only increase in that. I think we're on track where we need to be this year, and taking in end-of-life use of certain equipment, uniforms, things that we purchase out of that, vests specifically. I think we'll still be fine at our set number. So it's just the $6,000 transfer to cover any IT equipment that we might need in the coming year. The one add-on that you'll see, line item 52, is office equipment rental. We need to, in my opinion, we need to update our copier. It does what we needed to do now, but with the increased amount of copying and producing documents for accreditation, I don't think it's going to cut the mustard. I think we're going to end up spending more in ink, quite frankly, at that point that we're purchasing than we would for the
If you
contract.
stop printing in color.
Glossy. But I think the big thing, the big bang that you see in this is accreditation.
Yeah.
I mean, to get to accreditation, you need to keep a good tracking, which requires
I get it.
plenty of paperwork, and that's just an added fee that's, I feel is a lot more for the bang for the buck. I mean, the moment we get that accreditation, there's less questioning on our capabilities.
What we're currently getting out of that printer right now, I'm telling you, a $200 ink cartridge, when you look at the monthly on that, I would venture to say, at best, maybe 10% is what it's going to cost us over to get that piece of equipment, and then have something that does what we need it to do.
Can we tie that into our existing office contract? And get a break?
We actually set him up with our office
The
contract.
same
So
company.
that's the discount then.
That is the discounted?
We can inquire about it. It's cheaper than what we have to pay, but we do more paperwork than he does, so it makes sense.
So is that a dig at the relative little paperwork he does?
I'm telling you, when certification comes, the
I bet he
increase is going
prints
to be
nice Christmas
incredible.
cards too.
Mr. Mayor, if I can just address
Yeah.
accreditation. Chief,
Yes, sir.
as you look ahead in planning for accreditation, Is there any other resources that you think your department is going to need? I know you covered the lodging, education, and those are things in prepping for it, the printer, but is there anything else?
There is some equipment, but I feel like I can absorb that into the current budget. There's certain things that we need that we don't really have, and what we have is kind of antiquated. First aid kits would be one specific thing. I mean, half the guys could barely put a Band-Aid on somebody with what we've got, and that's not a dig. It's just, it's not where they need to be. And those are certain things that we need to have in certain purchases. But I think that I am available, I'm going to be able to absorb that into my current budget needs. I don't think it's going to be an extra added cost. I've kind of been there, done that, and of course, luckily, with the additions of the safes, those were probably the two biggest purchases that we needed to make. And we were able to absorb that currently. That's not in the upcoming budget. I don't really foresee anything. I've evaluated pretty much everything in the department that I can evaluate, and I think we're in good shape.
We were told a few years back that it would require someone, personnel, full-time, addressing accreditation and also maintaining. Do you suspect that to be the case? And if so, will you need additional personnel, or would you shift roles and responsibilities from who you have?
No, that statement you were given is inaccurate.
I didn't hear you, sorry.
That statement you were given is inaccurate.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What was that?
Part-time is a potential, but no, not full-time. I'm going to be able to absorb that in my normal duties in this coming year. But the maintenance of it does get a little bewildering because you can concentrate on that 1 year, that initial assessment. But in the reassessment, you have to concentrate on 4 years. And you can't, there's some things you just can't go back in time and get. And currently, well, in my past job, my admin assistant, that was what she was hired to do. And so we sit down and we go over
That was an
every
admin assistant, not officer, right?
Admin assistant.
admin assistant.
You know where I stand on that?
Yep.
So we were able, and quite frankly, I mean, she could work circles around most people that I know, and she doesn't like to be bored. I mean, I could have probably worked her 5 hours a week, and she would have got everything done. But she worked 20 hours a week and done a phenomenal job. She wants to be here. She's upset that I'm here. But no, that's all it's needed. You don't need a full-time
That was
person.
a plug, Bob, just be quiet.
You don't need a full-time person to
I was
just manage
thinking
that.
about this, she wanted to be here because of him thing.
So not to belabor the point, so
I'll be talking to your wife later on.
They're good friends. My wife sells her
Oh,
jewelry.
okay. Oh, God, that puts another.
Joe, you had a
aspect to it.
question?
So not to belabor the point, but, so your plan is to get everybody accredited in the first year, whenever that is. And then they have to go through periodic retraining, recertification. How often do they have to do that?
There's certain training requirements that every officer has to take each year.
Right.
Use of force, bias-based policing, things like that, to keep your status. Once every 4 years after the initial, they come in, but they look at all the records.
Right.
So they'll be here for 3 days, looking at every records, looking at the department, looking at the vehicles, looking at everything to make sure that we're doing what we've said we've been doing. So that maintenance does get intensive because you can't just set aside time to look at that in that one snapshot. You got to be planning ahead, or when you get towards the end of the year, you got to make sure that you've gotten your proof, time, date, stamped. You can't just sit there after your term limit and try to recreate one. That's a lie. That's a fib. That's basically not meeting the requirements that you've
So you need an
promised to meet.
admin to actively
Monitor.
record, memorialize more or less.
A lot of it's in the preparation.
Yeah, you can set up inspections and things like that on a dictated basis. But the fact is, there's almost 1,000 proofs. In other words, 1,000 things that you have to do. It's just under that, in over 220 folders.
Is there a
So you don't sit there. You can't just put your hand on a folder every day. There might be a folder that you don't touch for 4 months. But an admin assistant, she's always tracking. They're always looking.
Does that have any impact on our insurance rates?
5% reduction.
Okay.
So you have to be up to snuff on everything. I mean, there's not like a passing grade or anything like that.
Well, you have to meet every standard. You can't. They don't give you no freebies.
So it's either 100% or nothing.
100% or nothing.
Yeah.
100% or nothing.
Okay.
And we know someone who has taken a department through the whole process and gotten them accredited.
Okay. Now,
And reaccredited.
Mary?
So my takeaway from this conversation is that you have a need for an admin assistant. Maybe not this year, is that correct?
It would be beneficial,
Okay,
again, but, you know,
okay.
you can't just write a check for everything. You know, I try to be frugal, and I know that you all hired me to do a job, and it's my responsibility. So I didn't ask for it. It's my job, my problem.
Might want to ask next year.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
Well-
I would kind of encourage council to discuss this a little bit, just to make sure that we're supporting our chief through his accreditation process. You know, in the last line item that we discussed, you know, $3,000 for, you know, the equipment rental for accreditation is an investment. Could we not view, an admin assistant in that same way? Just for discussion.
Personally, I think we are supporting the chief. We are pushing along. This was one of the reasons he was hired, to get us through the accreditation process. So if he comes back in the next 2 months after this budget is approved and indicate to us the council is going to vote on that, I just don't think we need to take the stand right now in putting that. That's just my opinion. Yeah, putting the admin on it, but the way you described it is as if we're not supporting him. We are fully behind supporting the chief of police in getting our department accredited. That is our goal of why you even came on board.
Yes, sir.
That is what impressed us more so than anyone else when you were interviewed, because we knew you took a department through accreditation, reaccredited, and that spoke to us. And that is where we want our police department to go.
And that's where we'll be.
And on top of that note, you may want to add a function to this administrative assistant if you do request it, maybe investigation into grant writing and, you know, grant management of any type of functions that might apply, especially if we finally get approval to apply for our DMV grants again, right? A second on this.
Not go down that well.
I'm just making comment, I'm not doing anything more. Second on this, I don't know if you've done any type of future view or just evaluation of what stress on our police staff we have with the construction, the new development that's going on. I foresee another officer probably down the road when we do get these things fully developed and fully in place. I don't know if you have done any type of assessment of that?
No, I know, I have, as far as knowing what's coming and what we're looking at as far as retail and homes, yes. But as far as what impact that's going to have on the community and on the police force, I cannot speak to at this time. Yes, is it plausible? But do I have any data to support it right now? No. But I will monitor that and keep a look at that to see if it is something that we need to look at down the road.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you for your input.
Thank you all for your assistance.
Did you finish?
Yeah. Sorry, the last page is blank. Doesn't have a pie chart on it.
Capital outlay, can you stop? You didn't do capital outlay.
That doesn't look
So it
blank.
stayed off,
Yes,
done.
finished.
That doesn't look blank.
So,
It's got a nice badge.
Roberto indicated that it is paid off, sir.
what's the date on that, Roberto?
So that means we officially own all the cars.
All the
Yes.
vehicles?
March.
Officially.
It's past March, yep.
Thank God.
Good job, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job, Chief.
I just scratched my back.
Good job with the
Okay.
taxes too, I know you, man.
Now where do we stand?
My back's killing me.
That's a signal we gotta move.
Move along, yeah. Let's, next item.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chief, for that presentation. Just wanna make sure. So, going forward, the next line item, 32100001, contributions to government entity. This was the funds, the expenditures for the fire department. On the revenue side, we showed the same amount, 59,200. This is where we expended out the amounts to get those vests and the equipment that they needed. Obviously, we won't have that next year, so we removed it.
Roberto, we're not expecting to get any money from,
Funny that you ask. At the last town manager, I believe, did not sign on to receive the funds.
Explain that for me, please. That doesn't make sense.
So for the funds, for the fire department funds, the 10,000 that we're supposed to get, the department reaches out to all the localities. We're supposed to fill out a form, accepting the form, saying that yes, we would like the funds to be sent to us. The town manager was the signer to that, and he opted to not renew it. So this coming year, we won't be getting the $10,000 in contributions. It's an every year thing, so
You gotta be kidding me.
That's freebie money.
So let me just understand this here. So money that is offered to us in order to share with the local fire department,
correct.
our town staff decided not to sign up for it for this coming year.
No, not the town staff.
Okay, the town,
Yeah,
a town staff decides not to sign up for it. And because of that, we won't get this money, which is a pass-through. That's
Yes.
nothing to do with us.
Correct.
We are not touching it. We're basically just discussing where to spend it.
basically, yes.
Right. So we're not getting anything.
So that is the
So
reason
can I
why.
ask, can I follow up
Yes,
to my
sir.
original question, though?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're not getting anything this year. When is the next period of enrollment?
The July or August?
July, no, July, August, but for the following year, I believe,
Following, right,
for the
for
following year.
2024.
2024.
So that'll be something that we'll probably do, correct?
So we need to know who's it coming to for request? Who's the request coming to?
Well, if my framework was
Our
in
town
place.
manager or myself, yes, we would
Are we
definitely.
talking about fire funds?
Do we have a
The ones that
backup?
I expressly asked somebody to enroll for, he didn't enroll for them, yes.
Yeah.
That is an irritation to me.
But Bob, you knew about it, like as far as the enrollment?
He was instructed to enroll in it and apparently did not.
So, okay. So, we're going to enroll next year?
Yes,
Okay.
as soon as we're able to do so, but Teresa, I forgot her last name, but
The
she
argument I got
always
was it
contacts
wasn't
us.
worth the trouble of getting the money for the fire department and for us
That's-
proctoring it.
I think I know the word for that. It's called myopic.
Yeah.
No, there's a different word, but you can't say it in public.
Yeah.
Oh, I can, I will. Tell me what the word is, I'll say it.
All right, so we're going to enroll in the next available, okay.
As soon as available again, we will make sure. to
And I think
bring
we
it
should
to
add
council.
that to our policy to enroll every year.
Yep.
Because we do what we did previously, which is accrue it year over year over year.
And then don't
And then when
spend
you
it.
have a significant sum with which the fire department can do something meaningful,
So
You
is that
then
why it
have
got
the-
up to 59?
yeah,
Yes,
that wasn't a 1-year total.
That was 6 years.
the contribution annually is 10,000.
So what's our checks and balances to make sure this doesn't happen again?
Policy?
Policy.
How do we do that, sir?
Develop a policy?
We
Develop
just
a
put it in our
policy.
policy, it's probably in there. It
It's
might
just,
it might
it's
not
just
be.
not followed, right?
It's just
It's
not-
not personnel.
Because
No, it's gotta be
Well,
added to the
let me
fiscal.
see if I can figure out how to shoehorn it in.
We put it in the fiscal policies.
It has to be in our policy
Exactly.
procedures. And
So
it
that's what I'm
also
saying.
has to have some kind of a calendarization, so it's a trigger. Somebody will pick that
So
up.
how do we get it there?
We revise our fiscal policy, which we have.
you implement
Well,
my
if you
framework.
want him to talk about it, we'll be here for the next hour.
Joe,
I
how
can
do we
I
do
can
that?
take up an hour of time talking about the framework that I have planned and which I'd like to put in place.
Sir, order.
Order answer?
Joe?
Move to close debate.
The staff will get back to us on how they're going to.
Okay, cool.
Next
Like that.
item.
Next item, please.
Okay, moving forward. So on this budget, we also carry the following line item, street beautification. This is the remaining funds for the 2,213 that are restricted to address benches, plates, items like that. So that is, we are carrying it on because we still do have funds for that. We included a $5,000, included the $5,000 change for ENS inspections. This will be due for town-initiated projects. Just a minimal amount, but just to, if the town moves forward with the park sidewalk, it may increase, but just to have a marker for now.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Before you move on, the street beautification has anything to do with the light poles?
No. Well, no,
What
the
line item
plates,
is
the plates on the plaques.
The
Black.
the plaques, the
benches, the trash cans,
the engraved bricks.
Yep.
Is there a
Yeah.
line item coming up for the poles?
That usually falls all under maintenance.
Just
And-
not general maintenance?
And that's an asset issue that we'll be addressing.
All right, continue.
Also, to backtrack, erosion and sediment.
That's for us.
That's for
Everybody
us.
else's ENS is a pass-through.
Okay, so I see insurance, we're zeroing out on our insurance on this, is that correct? It looks like in the past few years, we've had a couple thousand.
Where are you?
34,100 and 001.
Oh, you back way up.
Yeah,
Okay.
I backed up. We cruised over that real quick.
You got that, Roberto?
Okay, so is that an insurance, or what are, I see it got zeroed out, and in the past, we've had some type of,
That was inspections.
oh, inspection, okay.
Yeah. Maybe,
And that got transferred.
Okay, so
That's where
that gets built into land planning then at this point, right?
That,
no, tell them.
that gets passed on to the developer owner that applies.
That's
for
where the
it.
pass-through comes
That's a
in.
pass-through.
Okay, okay.
Maybe just add a P on that, INS.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's inspection, I thought it was insurance, I'm like,
Sorry about that. Are we okay to move forward?
yeah.
The 43-20001 trash contract. This contract has been increased due to the 4% increase that annually happens. It also addresses the 79 Crossroads homes that we presume will start in the second half of 2023. So example will be January 2024. It also includes the full year of the 38 Van Meter homes, as we were told that they're looking to have the first home sold by June or close to June. So it would definitely be on track to be in the next budget.
We were pretty
Okay.
conservative in making sure that we had enough there for early openings or,
Yes.
Yep, now this contract, is this good for a couple years, or are we going to look at renegotiating this, in which we're going to
So-
see an impact, or?
The contract, I think it was a 5-year contract. I can confirm that. But in fact, the contract,
contract runs out after next year?
I believe, because it was 2020, the signature I saw was the prior mayor, who was acting as the town manager at the time. He signed off on it, so it's an older contract.
So we are good for this year, though? We
This
won't,
year,
we
yes,
won't
yes.
see any
Sure,
type of
fine.
impact because of renegotiation?
This year, next year, and just so, yeah, and just to let you know, we were, the trash company did reach out. They are honoring the contract, but even though they're honoring, they did reach out about,
Fuel
dealing with the
adjustment.
fuel adjustments. But
How about added pickups? I mean, I know that's a cost on the town. I don't know what kind of policies we have in place on passing this through to the homeowners.
You'd have to-
So, are we going to project what that is and include that in the budget if we're not
So
going to make
the-
a policy
the-
to pass it through?
Special pickups.
Yes.
The number here includes a little more than we need, not by much. I think about $2,000 more in case we need to do some special pickups or events.
It's amazing what they pick up from in front of my house.
Yeah.
I know. But
I think
if
the
you've
only-
noticed with the COVID, they will only pick up what's in the
Yeah,
the
they had
trash
special,
can
they had
now.
special restrictions. That's seemingly over because I've been doing a good bit of
Because I've been waiting to
throwing
dump,
of things away.
I've been waiting to dump a washing machine out there, so.
Well, I
I've been
just dumped a
waiting.
rug and some
think you have to call ahead for
bookcases.
that.
Yeah, but the question is, if you call.
If you call in, it's an expense on the town.
We just,
Who calls in?
There's
You
no,
you gotta call
you
the
have to call
town,
town.
yeah, the
And
town,
phone
you gotta
calls it in.
coordinate with the town.
I don't think I've seen additional costs for special pickups. As long.
For
yeah.
bulk pickup, I thought it was a certain fee per bulk pickup.
There may be, but I'm guessing they're not
They make us pay.
administratively accounting for it. Let's put it that way.
They,
Yeah.
they give us an extra charge aside from the contract for the events trash, when we have the dumpsters in the park and dumpsters back here, but
Yeah,
aside from
that's
that, it's
different.
pretty standard contract. when we-
Yeah, just
it
take
came
your
as well.
refrigerator, put it in the dumpster.
You don't mind if I put my washing machine in your dumpster?
Prefer if you not, if you don't, we shouldn't be discussing this on the air.
I know, I'm just joking.
no, but the question is that the right number, and how does bulk pickups, how are they treated, and is that an additional cost or not to the resident or to the town? That's the
Have-
question.
That I have seen when I think Ms. Kim has made bulk pickup requests and we have not been charged extra for it.
Okay.
If that's what you.
We should probably read the contract.
Yeah, I'm sure the contract says there will be a fee,
I'm
but
sure that. I'm
whether
pretty
the
sure they're
administrative
up there.
billing happens, that's a different story.
That's not on us, but.
Yeah,
Let's just read it and then we
okay.
So what are we tracking at right now for trash? Is this a contract at 90,000?
That's the budget amount
That's
for
the budget
this year.
amount. This year so far, we're at 75,267. This includes April. So we have May and June.
We're actually under.
slightly, yeah.
We're proposing 20,000 more, and that's for the gas and everything
We're
else?
adding
We're adding more
38
homes
Oh, the more homes, okay.
and also more,
plus 4% increase.
yeah.
Yep, the 4% annual increase.
Okay.
Oh, and Councilman Morris, because in May, our contract doesn't work on, the reason why it's also off too is because our contracts, the renewal amount will actually start in May. So we have the last 2 months at the newer rate, because that's when the contract was signed. So as of May 1st is when the 4% bump up goes. So that's why it may seem under now, but it'll catch up a little bit.
Fiscal year.
May I suggest that the first 2 months of the next year, we pay month by month, if it's possible, and then just start it in June with the budget? Can we do that?
You need to align it with the
Yeah.
fiscal
Fiscal
year.
year.
I would
yeah.
have to request if we could amend the
The question is, what
contract.
happens if we open it up like that, too?
Yeah, you don't want to do that till the end.
I'm saying at the end, just
Yeah.
pay month by month, you pay 2 months, and then you start.
Maybe you're better doing that towards the end of the contract,
Yes.
when you go to renegotiate.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
Yes.
At the
Because if you
end.
open it up now, I mean, I don't know what, I'd have to read the
Yeah, I see what
contract.
you're saying.
Yeah.
As long as we
With the
achieve the
fuel
same goal
burn.
of
No,
try to
that's-
run it with the fiscal year.
Yeah, that's better that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is everyone okay with that 20,000 increase for
It's unavoidable.
117 units?
It's unavoidable.
That's
Town hands.
That's 117
strapped.
units.
And
Well,
170
170
increase.
117 units with 79 of those units. Next year is going to be even more because 79 of these units are only for half a year, for January through
Right.
June.
We don't anticipate them being
Right.
'Cause they're-
online until,
For the crossroads, yes. They won't be online until, they're saying January, that's right now. That's what they're.
my guess is we're probably looking at March
March, yeah.
So,
at best.
so just be aware that
You're going to be another increase next year for the
bigger increase.
the other
most
half,
likely,
yeah.
because
Yeah, but that's,
4% on
but
top
that's
of it.
offset by the increased number of units paying tax.
Yeah, understand.
And Robinson Paradise, as our town manager is explaining.
Yeah, okay.
If they ever get their building permits.
Okay,
Moving on.
next.
Moving on, the maintenance. This is mainly where the maintenance section is at. This is where we pool money for any town maintenance, repairs of the light poles, Sidewalks, landscape contract is under here, but it's on its own individual line. The pest control contractors in here, snow removal, the street cleaning, obviously the electric and gas services for town-owned buildings.
So the 001 is for the poles.
So did you just mention snow under 001?
No,
Or
I
did I
said
miss it?
poles. So snow
Poles.
removal is 004.
Yes.
004.
And we're
Now,
still,
snow removal, I think we saw, what, an average of $2,000 a snowstorm? Are we looking at seeing 3.5 snowstorms next year?
That's the tough thing about the snow removal. Yeah, I mean, we'll go 5 years with no snow removal. And then 1 year, we get killed. And then 5 more years of no snow removal. I mean,
I mean, you see it in 18, 19, and 20. So 1 year was $35.
Yep. So you're using the Farmer's Almanac on this, right?
I would actually knock it down.
Ben Franklin's.
Ben Franklin's.
I would maybe we leave it at the 7 based on the type of storms we've had and the intensity of late and the duration of our season being November to April lately.
I thought it was global warming and everything was heating up.
You
You know, greenhouse gases and all that stuff.
But
I would be in agreement to leaving it at 7.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna die on that hill, but I just, it's one of those ones that's impossible to,
Especially
Yeah.
if we expand our snow policy and we are shoveling and doing more throughout the entirety of the town.
that's really going to
Yeah.
inform what the budget might be. And that's where I was going to go with the
Because
policy.
that's more surface that belongs to the town, the
right.
streetscape in front of the park,
We
the
are now,
streetscape heading down.
It would be more pre-treating
Mm-hmm.
in the future.
yep, we are now identifying sidewalks. Before,
Exactly.
sidewalks weren't identified. It was strictly just town property parking lots.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, can I jump back to 001, please? Repair, maintenance services.
Yes, sir.
This includes light poles.
Yes.
Is there any way we could put a plan together in changing out? I inspected that one that fell, and it's the washers that wore out and broke.
Is that the one that was laying down?
Yeah.
So
Really?
I'll let our town manager speak on that because I know she has a plan with Louis Sublet on addressing the polls.
So you're correct. That is exactly what happened. Unfortunately, that's the second one that's happened this year for that very reason. The other one was right here at the corner of Washington Street Realty, and it happened back in February. There was some wind that came in. I was convinced it was a car, but our PD helped me see it was the wind and that the washers and the bolts had an issue, so it broke away and it fell over. So if we've already lost 2, we're going to start working. Lewis has given us all of the recommendations of what we need to do. So he actually has trained Matt on how to do this. So we can start having Matt go through and we can say, you know, we need X number of poles taken care of, you know, over the course of a week, try to get through as many of them as we can. The newer ones on the eastern end of town are not in bad shape. It's mainly these right here. But Lewis has recommended that we do all of them and we check all of them going up and down the street. We can also hire Lewis to do the work. We just need to set aside probably, I would say, the better part of a week worth of work to do that, funding wise, so that we could have him come in and do it. Because it's not just, when he does it, it might not just be bolts and washers. It can also be changing out the bulbs, the heads, you know, fixing that as well. We can also talk to him about the banner arms and if he could have a crew, if he has to rent a cherry picker and we just take on the cost and do it. Might be more beneficial, do it all at once.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea, now that I hear it. Put a program together.
That's right.
staying
So understanding our assets and a maintenance program and knowing how we map that to our budget, right?
Mr. Mayor, focus. So,
if I hear that,
Mr. Mayor, if it's okay with you, I would like to follow up on this topic with the maintenance person, with Emily and the rest of the staff, just to come together in sharing with the rest of council what it actually costs as far as hiring it out compared to doing it in-house, and potentially increase the hours for the maintenance person that we have on staff.
we need an assessment of some other things too.
Yes, and that's what I
Yeah,
want to look
yeah.
at. I want to look at a whole year plan, divide it into months, and divide it into weeks to see if we can justify bringing that person on and work out a scope of work for them.
Now the time to bring this up?
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying we,
If we wanna cut
There's
into
an
it.
ancillary issue, which is other town assets.
We don't know what we don't know. We don't have an asset list. We don't know what condition our assets are in. And this is just obvious proof on why we need to try and get something like this together.
understand.
And it's time for,
I mean-
I'm going to step right on into this. So, I'm seeing all this, but there's no linkage to this within our budget. And we need to put a line item in here
Well-
to actually identify this stuff and start to link this in our budget.
Yeah, Chris, you were here a couple of years ago, so maybe you can speak to this, but we took a little visit over to Cupcake Heaven the other day. And, we spent thousands on air conditioner repairs in 2020, but if we replace the system, why are there 2012 compressors there?
You want me to answer you?
Sure, why not?
Because we didn't have a system in place to hold people accountable.
Okay.
All right? Because what we had in place was a management system that approved purchases, and there was no accountability that followed. Now, if we have a town staff who's going out, we know who's to hold accountable, the town manager.
And but that's only part of the issue.
Yeah.
And you know how
And
they
this-
bypass the system?
I know.
Instead of bringing it to council to get the approval for $18,000 vote on it, they divided it into
Three
three.
sections, I get it. But, I'm looking at the building, I'm looking at what we paid for, and this predates you. But, we wonder why they can't cool the building on the second floor. And then you go up in the attic, and the tin roof is laid right on the rafters with no insulation and no sheathing. And the chimney's not capped, and you've got holes in the wall the status of some of our assets from a physical standpoint is really distressing. And I'm scared to walk into that one, because I don't want to go upstairs in the old Red Rooster and see what they've done. We've seen this year over year with the museum. Why does the paint on the Red Rooster seem to last 5 times longer than the paint on the museum? Why is the paint already failing on the front of this building? Well, I can tell you because they didn't clean the goddamn building before they painted it. Now you're separating because the paint's adhering to the grease and the dirt. Well, I think we're going to be in for some big sticker shock here within the next 24 to 36 months as some of these fiscal systems start to fail. Some of the structural things come into question too. But I guess we're just going to have to address that with CIP funds.
And that's why I think we can mitigate it to an extent by putting together a plan to address them, come up with all the items that are outstanding, divide it over a year, and bring it back to council to say.
We've already, the finance liaisons, we're already tasked, Emily, with having an assessment done of that building's AC. That's the only one I think we haven't had assessed recently.
That one in the museum, I would say.
The museum,
Yeah.
I forgot about that one, but
I mean, the only
every other
assessment,
building has been looked at
yeah,
because of a failure.
and the only assessments we have of our buildings are what you and Chuck put together. That's it. I mean, we really don't understand what we actually own and how much and what condition what we own is in.
Well, all I know is we
And what
paid-
we're looking at in our CIP requirement to replace, repair, or upgrade this stuff.
I'm
We
just
really need to get this together.
I'm just getting tired of going and looking at
Need to
things
get
and being
ahead of
told we replaced it in 2020, and then you look at the manufacturing badge on the equipment,
that's
and the
scary.
2020 replacement involved a 2012 piece of equipment.
That's scary.
We need to get ahead of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
saying. That's why I want the assessment done.
And the question is, how do we do that assessment? So I have an
We have to
idea.
figure out what we
Yeah.
assess.
I have an
J-
idea.
Let Joe speak.
Well, I mean, this is something that I did in a past life. I mean, we can either do it ourselves, which is going to be very time-consuming, or we can consider hiring somebody to do it for us. And we could probably get away with using ARPA funds, but we would double-check that. But it seems to me you got to start with identifying all of your assets, all the assets that you're responsible for in this town. You got to get a rating of what the condition of all those assets are, right? Then you have to find out what the life cycle is for those assets. What's the replacement? Then you, based on that, you can categorize it and prioritize it. And then what you do is you determine state of good repair or normal replacement, right?
Yeah.
Right? You develop your maintenance plan and your programs off of that, right? And then you start to think about your system expansion or network expansion, system improvements. You can't get to network expansion or system improvement until you get things into a state of good repair, because that's going to cost a lot of money. So it starts with an asset inventory, like you're all saying.
And that was started, Joe. The problem with it is when it was handed over, we did not have someone competent enough. We thought we did, that would take that information and then formulate a plan. And that's where we failed. Because we started looking at every equipment throughout the town that we owned.
Right.
So there's that bridge, getting that information that is there and probably having someone else, building engineer, or we find someone who can actually come in, look at it, and not just give us the individual items, but put the plan together.
That's right, and that's why we need to discuss that now, because I see an expense that needs to be put in this line item, in which we put together expertise.
We could add it to the CIP and then fund it at the beginning of the year out of the CIP. Because it really is, it's step one to a capital improvement.
Yes.
Because we're talking about significant.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about significant expenditures in equipment and physical plant. Not necessarily in this building and not necessarily in the Copper Cricket building, but the other ones we own. And that's not even taking into account the park building.
Yeah. But I mean, this is more than just the buildings. Let's look at all the assets involved. I consider our programs an asset too. So when you start to look at our flag program, we've already discussed the pains that we have in replacing the wreaths and getting the wreaths to make sure they light up and all these issues. And we don't even know what the true funding requirement is for that.
Well, we
These
don't
are
know
the things
we don't know the age of our systems.
Yeah, these are the things we need to capture and understand so that we can actually target this within our budgets.
Right, we do.
Well, then perhaps we need to add that as a CIP item and then kick the study off in June or July. But we need to come up with some parameters of what we want. So I think we need to sit down
Yeah.
at a time other than now and figure out, what parameters do we want to do? Personally, I think we need to prioritize it at physical plants, and then we need to look at the construction of some of
Yeah.
these buildings and what the status of that construction is.
Well, we need to understand scope, and we also need to understand how much of our ARPA money we want to roll over into handling this. We have the money right now because of ARPA, but I don't want to
Yeah.
just waste this money putting together something that never comes to a solid
Well,
program.
I don't want to do patchwork either, but.
Well, you have to do something. You have to understand what exactly your problems are. We really don't know what our problems are. We know we have issues.
We've
We just
started
don't.
it, we just need to continue.
We do identify the issues and then come up with a long-range plan on how to address them. Some are more pressing than others, but if we've got a 10-year-old compressor out there running 24/7 for what's essentially a commercial building, and you've got 2 residential compressors doing it that aren't rated for that load, it's only a matter of time till they go. And each one of those units, if you replace it with a like unit, is bare minimum $5,500 apiece.
If, well, I think the first step is we need to understand what we don't know.
Yeah.
We need a professional to come in and start to do an assessment and an audit, right? So we need to try to fund that in our budget to actually step into this, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to ask staff if they have any thoughts on this, too.
I would agree. I think that it's time, in the time that I've been here, we act in a reactive manner to all of our buildings and all of the problems we have. And as we look forward to continuing to lease out the spaces, I mean, I'll give you an example. We had a new tenant just move into a space upstairs, and we have had air conditioning issues with that tenant, and we've had to have 3 service calls just on that one space to get it up to a good enough standard. So we need to look at all the spaces that we have empty, all the spaces that are occupied, and we need to start acting in a proactive manner, because right now we're just putting Band-Aids on the issues.
And how many of the 11 have we replaced or serviced over the past 2 years? Do you even have a capture of that, which?
Off the top of my head, I don't, but we've replaced enough of them, we shouldn't have these issues.
Yes. So that's just showing the problems we have here.
So the stuff that you did, Chris, is that something we can pivot off of?
That's a start, because all of those have serial numbers. I mean, we went up into the attics and record all the RVs and the numbers, serial numbers, model numbers. All of those were recorded. Age of every unit.
Okay, that's a good start.
That's a
Very
I'm telling you, we started it and it was handed over to someone who was incompetent.
How long ago was this?
Who was this?
About a year ago.
Yeah, a year and a half. I'm telling you, it got started, and just to get all that information we got all the information.
Okay. Well, before we move on, though, we got to get some type of understanding. Do we want to put a line item in to put something together for
CIP,
this?
it's a separate thing.
Roll it for a CIP?
Roll it into the CIP.
Okay.
Roberto, go ahead.
I agree with what everyone's saying, and before looking at ARPA, I agree with Councilman Ware too, that we have CIP funds that are organically through an operational budget. We have the funds to do so. So, yes, I agree. I think you all, this council has talked about this. Mayor, I know this is something that's really big on you, but if this is something that you all really want to pursue, and I think it is a benefit to the town, the residents' town money, we should look into a consultant, because to be very frank with you, Councilman Morris, we're no experts in this field, so we would need some outside help to get this, completed
They might
to the
say sell
expectation.
properties.
And yeah, I mean, even that, I know tenants that are more than happy. They would be more than happy to buy some of these properties off. But even with that being said, we will have to do it regardless. In that, if we went that route as
Pay
well.
the order of Town of Haymarket.
If it's
So-
cost effective,
So
maybe
yes,
that's
I
the
agree with you all,
approach.
and I just want to make sure you guys understand that we do have funds at CIP. The ARPA funds are not, like you guys say, they won't be here forever, but I think ARPA should probably stick to the plan that we were thinking on the projects, but we just look more into the CIP. We do have a healthy reserve
do
as
have a
well.
yeah.
So there are many options to do so.
Mr. Mayor, if it suits the council, can you give me until Monday, just to give the council some options how to approach taking the information that we have
Okay.
and doing a proper study?
Do you want to put this conversation into the work session?
Yes.
Yeah.
Put that on the agenda.
As the agenda grows.
Mr. Morris,
Yeah.
can you reshare that document? I'll look for it on our server, but could you reshare?
Printed and in a white folder, looking nice on the shelf, and that's where it stayed. I handed it in,
Yeah, it
Put in a
should be in a
Okay.
binder.
I'll
in a
look-
binder,
I'll look for it.
a 1-inch binder, and then it stayed there in the binder.
Well,
Dust. Look for the one with the most dust on it.
Our meeting's starting to drag, so let's get this rolling. So,
Where are we?
It's a waste of my time.
sorry, guys.
No.
Okay, well, moving forward, in this maintenance grouping, two of the newest additions we've created are for the maintenance vehicles. The maintenance vehicle we purchased for the town, which is the fuel and some maintenance. Chief has graciously taken this onto his fleet with making sure everything's maintained. But we definitely wanted to make sure that the gas and any maintenance falls on us at the admin side, not his budget. So that's why we've created this to target that. Moving forward on that, the economic development section. So this is where that 42% and the 28,
42.86.
yes, percent. This is where
28.57.
the TOT revenue is being distributed out on the expenditure side. 2% go, I believe you might remember the pie chart.
Let's
The,
not go through that again.
Yes, so 2 sevens, 28 point, I have it open if you want me to open it for real. But a point is, 28.6%, 42.9%.
Right.
So the 42.9 is what the agreement with Hotel Ventures Hilton is set that is what's supposed to be reimbursed, the 3%, or the 3 sevens. The other 2 remaining percent goes to the town tourism, and the remaining 2% goes to the general fund, distributed within the general fund. In this budget, we're going off of conservative numbers, as I stated earlier in the meeting today. The hotel is saying more 95%. We're going to go with more of an 80% revenue source from them, and distributing that 80%, which is 168,000. Just updated that numbers.
It's 168.
So it's 168 to give you the breakdown, and then that means that 72,000 will go towards the reimbursement. 48,000 goes to the town tourism, and the remaining 48,000 goes to the general fund.
Multiple items.
So how granular do you want to take this? Do we need to add an administrative line to this, or do we want to roll that up into what staffing general funds are and just put some type of timesheet code on it for when doing any type of administration on this? I mean, you know, I'd like to try and realize our legal fees that are associated with this.
I've thought about that a good bit today, and I don't think that at present there's any way to recover that. I think this is a startup.
Right, but I'm not asking for recovery, though. I just want realization so that we understand how much we're spending for this crap. So do you want to roll it up to a code in the general fund that we just track it as a pot that's part of general fund?
The treasurer just retracts it as part of his tracking of the legal bills.
Yeah, on the legal bills, our town Martin, he's very good about breaking it out when he's working on specific things. I can request him to specifically, if you want to have that kind of overview on it, to specifically break out this TOT, anything dealing with the TOT.
But it's kind of like the timesheets. We've separated the time out so that we can now drill down, as long as it's identifiable within your system.
I have no problem. I can identify it on my timesheet as well as with the town manager, because that's who.
But the legal fees, it's all separated, so you can actually drill down and go, okay, here's what's associated to what we're doing with this activity.
And I can talk to Martin about seeing if he could give us a specific, just TOT page breakout, as you see when you review the payables, how it's broken out. I can ask him to do something similar, where he can just break out that specific dealings.
Yep, I just want, us to do any type of what-if scenarios, how much are we doing, how much is going for this effort, so that we can understand what our actual costs are.
Yeah, you'll hear Jill and I screaming when we get next month's bill.
Okay.
Okay, no questions on that? Okay, going forward,
Do we need to add that to a line item for
No.
discussion?
No, I don't think we're going to add a line item. I think we're
No,
just
not,
going to.
sorry, not a line item, I'm sorry, work session.
Agenda
discussion.
item?
It's going to be an agenda item for closed
Agenda.
session.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
okay, move forward the
Oh, is it going to be an agenda item for closed session?
Haymarket Park.
Yes.
So Haymarket Park, I was just actually made aware, my apologies, that our town manager would like to request an increase in this line item, and I'll let her explain.
You mean to the grounds maintenance? Or-
Yes, we would like to request an increase to the line item. Still kind of working on the numbers. I would like to probably ask for 50,000. The reasoning, we're trying to get the community park building so that it can actually be rented. And we were made aware by a trusted contractor that we work with often that the structural integrity of the building needs some attention, and it needs serious attention. So we talked through some of that, and then we also got a ballpark idea on what it would look like to get the bathroom up to an accessible standard so that it was open for anybody of any accessibility level that came in the park building. But also, we were kind of forward thinking in what would it look like to go ahead and do the bathrooms that had the exterior access. So we did get some quotes, just again, general quote, and we would like to request that amount. It will be a bigger cost item. We can look at putting it in the CIP
That's
If-
where it belongs.
if that is something of discussion, but the
Capital improvement, it belongs
maintenance,
in the CIP, not on this line item.
the maintenance of the structural issues, I think, should be addressed.
Also a CIP issue.
Yep.
Okay?
How about,
Should we move forward with closing the building to any access until that point?
I thought it was
Is it-
closed.
it
Is
should
it
be
unsafe?
closed. Yes.
It is not habitable, should never.
No.
No, but-
I mean, there's
I thought it was
storage of
closed anyway.
things. It is closed, but there is storage of things in there, and staff and other people will go in and out to retrieve items.
Question. You're talking structural, I'm not sure what that means. Are we talking
The-
foundation? Are we? talking-
Foundation, the beams, the post, a little bit of everything in the basement.
Okay, so let me follow up with another question.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the previous leadership did some work in that structure to make it safer. Something
Stabilize
to do
it.
with the basement? What was
So
that?
the previous town manager did get a contract for 5 IntelliJacks to go in and to shore up a portion of the basement that was closer to the front. So as you're in the basement and you look towards the front door, that area was fixed up. JES did the work, and that was a year ago, and they just came out last week to do the final inspection. That was also not scheduled a year ago when the work was completed, so we are trying to finalize that and get our final inspection and everything approved on it. So we are moving forward in that regard, but when you go straight down the stairs, the beams that are there, they're rotted at the bottom, and you can pretty much kick your foot through them.
Okay. Well,
We have larger decisions to make than, yeah, this is definitely, yes.
That's outside this meeting, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a.
So we can evaluate it and put it in the CIP for further discussion, but it is something that we should talk about sooner rather than later.
Because it continues to deteriorate.
Yeah, and when we're not in the building and no one's in there checking on it, I mean, we set the air so that it can stay, pretty normal, but we're not in there using it every day or even every week, and things happen. I mean, last summer, unfortunately, we had AC backup and we weren't in there, and the ceiling collapsed in one of the rooms, and we had what I would call a major blowout of air conditioning issues. So when we're not there all the time, it takes a toll.
Yep.
All
Well,
the
like
more
you said,
reason to get it usable.
There could be a
but
bulldozer
that's all CIP. Like I said, this is a different forum, so we gotta kind of move on. Did you Did you increase, I don't really see any increase in the amount of money associated with that. I'm assuming we are planning on taking the tarp down and putting it up yearly for the coverage. Did we include any type of replacement or repair of any of the equipment there?
You're talking about the playground?
The playground, yeah.
I thought that was getting covered by insurance. Did they put the new stuff in?
New-
The sun
what are you
damage stuff?
referencing? Yes, so they've taken care of the warranty items that were damaged from the sun. We have the sunshade that'll go back up. We've factored in the cost there of what it would take to put it
Okay.
up and down.
Mulch
So-
replacement, any type of wear and tear on the equipment.
Yeah, back when we put the playground in 2020, we went through some of those costs and what it would look like to continue the upkeep of the mulch. You do have to have it at a certain level for safety standards, so we do that, and then we have our playground inspector come out once a year and help us with that inspection.
Okay,
So
and
that's
so all
what I
that's
would-
kind of built into the
Yes.
cost here, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Any questions? Move on. Try to move this on. We're already an hour and a half behind what I wanted.
Council's pleasure, sir.
Man, that's not what you just told me a while ago.
I said I'm fine, sir.
Yeah.
Hit the road.
It's okay with the rest of the council, we can cut it loose.
You might fall asleep listening to the rest of this.
He was sleeping.
With his eyes open.
Take a picture of you next time.
God bless you guys. See you
Thank you,
later.
bro.
Yep.
Museum.
Okay, going forward to the next line, the next group line items, the town events. This is where the 74,350, how it would be distributed out when it comes to town events. To give you an idea, if going forward, the museum. This has been always. It hasn't changed much. Luckily, the past year, we've had Haymarket Coffee there, so they've been taking care of many of the things and maintaining the building.
Yeah. Which goes
Um,
back to the park building.
Going forward to the Planning Commission, just carried over the existing budget.
Suggest chopping line items 03 and 04 to 5,000 each respectively.
You think even with the comp plan?
Even with the comp plan.
Cut it by 5 or cut it to 5?
Okay, cut the first one to 5, cut the second one to 10.
No, I would not cut the consulting, that's,
Which one?
Why is Katie build the planning?
Shouldn't that be passed through?
that is for town RFPs for the work she's doing, the management. She usually helps assist manage construction when it came to like the side, so she kind of
So
builds
we're
it in.
billing that through the planning commission? All right, but I don't, from an accounting standpoint, I don't think that's where it should be.
Yeah.
It should be with the project.
Yeah, planning commission stuff should almost be passed through, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and this is the problem I've had with this for years, is the way that everything gets lumped into the planning commission or the ARB and charged against them when the fees aren't really for the work of the two boards.
Hey, Roberto,
Yes.
where is, in what line item is Katie, the consulting engineer, paid?
So if you see a lot of the stuff now, since we've changed to a pass-through system, you can see last year how a lot of it is actually just on the bottom one, the one that ends with 09, 81-10009. Many of her work is actually passed through to the developer, homeowner, and whatnot. The 15 we capped in the past because the thought of when she needs to address specifically like town, the master plan, the RFP stuff.
But why is the master plan being, I'm
Well, I mean,
I'm not
this is
gonna, I'm
before-
not gonna
this is-
die on that hill either.
Yeah, so this was before we actually created a specific line for the town master plan on the bottom as we go down, further down.
Which is where, yeah, this is just a pet peeve of mine from this year and years past.
Right.
Okay. Are you, so do you want to change it now, or, because I went down with the comp plan down to 5,000, so do you want to change the other engineering one?
I would change them both to 5,000, and then you put it in the actual program costs for the projects. Like the pedestrian,
There isn't just one line item where she is paid.
it's spread throughout. But from our standpoint, if it's being billed for town projects, then we should have a town project category that you can attribute the cost to, so that you're not either understating or overstating the cost.
Roberto.
Let me get together with Emily on this and discuss this specifically, the
Yeah,
engineer one.
we'll talk about it Thursday.
And we can talk about it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but I will reduce the comp plan one since, is that something,
I don't see the necessity in spending 15 grand. Am I missing something?
We're trying to think through it. If the goal is to get it all done, are we gonna need anybody to come in for assessments?
Have the soils changed in the last 300 years?
No, I'm seeing more septics and wells.
We're down to like 2 wells and 2 septics,
County still can't identify it if we're doing that.
and the county's a bunch of idiots.
We still got to show proof, though, and that's an exercise within itself.
And it's not as hard as you think it is. Just contact the service authority, get the billing addresses. They won't give you the billing addresses?
Well, we can talk about that
All right.
Thursday.
Okay.
Well, let's talk about comp plan consultant on Thursday as well.
Okay.
okay, moving forward. ARB. Once again, no change on that.
I don't see anything.
Marcia's not here, so let's eliminate their entire budget.
No, I still want education in there.
Okay. After that is the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Yeah, just leave that blank.
Okay.
Put in expensive.
After that is,
Do we really want to
Legal
budget
fee.
them at 29, 27 this year?
Well, let's think about it. We got to send them for training.
Okay.
We talked
okay,
about that.
Okay.
They need
Yeah,
that
I'd like to see
training.
them meet at least
Yeah,
2
you're
times a
right.
year.
You're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so we've got to do that. Plus, you know, HB 616, whether that applies or not, only
Yeah.
as if they're going to have a real case, right?
Yeah.
okay. The debt obligation. That is the town's longstanding debt. 2 of these loans will be
Amortized.
amortized on 2023 at the end of this this fiscal year.
Good.
So, next year. So you're saying 2024 is the last payment?
2024, yes.
So only 2 more years. Well, that's
And
an
then-
opportunity
and then
there.
Yeah.
Then we have one more that will
Yeah,
finish in
to go in debt
2025.
again.
I'm sorry?
And then the third one will be on 2025. So we have 3 separate
Yeah.
loans.
So principal and interest on the general obligation bonds, those 2 line items, 02 and 03, that'll be done in after 2024's payment.
2024's payment, 2 of them will, but then you still have one that goes all the way to 2025.
All right, can you break that out for us?
Yeah, I can bring it out on the presentation, and I'll have a sheet ready for you guys.
Because that'll be a nice opportunity down the road for some additional funding.
Yes.
And then those guys from Richmond will come in and say we can take out more debt, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Glossy's in a pie chart, right? Okay.
Okay, going forward, below you'll see the following line item that we should look at is the 94,10401,
Right.
which is for the park sidewalk. So this is where I was talking about that 209,000
Right.
that we're moving from the ARPA funds to specifically address this project, along with the following project, 94,10601, the town center completion of the master plan, site plan. Then,
When you're done with this, I want to go roll up.
okay, then 94,10701, the building,
Yeah, that's.
it should have been a blight mitigation. It's under the blight mitigation, 40,000. Then the last line item is the capital improvement funds.
Okay, before we do that, can I roll up? You got on here the caboose. We do know that the caboose is getting to a state in which
Right.
I know we've been talking about repainting and that. Of course, nothing's been, put out there for the caboose project. So what are we going to do with the caboose?
I would say let's bring it up as a CIP discussion on what it would cost to do the maintenance of it or its future.
Or,
Till we
Okay.
get the railroad tracks and put it on the
Yeah,
track.
I just wanted to identify that since we did not put anything down on it to make action, so.
Give it to
And
them.
it has been
So-
discussed in the past.
That could boost enhancement price with that 5-year holdout, right?
Yeah, because we had a grant,
Yeah.
That line item was a grant from several years.
that's why it's there, and that's
That's
why
Okay,
it's
it's
zero.
still there, yeah, because that's what put in the deck back there and
That
stuff,
should be coming off, actually.
Right.
yeah,
Unless we get another grant for it.
yeah.
So if there's another grant, then we keep it there and apply for another grant.
if there's anything out there like that.
Mhm. I mean, how
There
much
is,
was
you
it? We
just
got-
need a grant writer
Let's
to
say,
write a
at this
grant.
point, that thing is really looking pretty bad.
Yeah.
And it's probably gonna take not power washing.
Oh,
It takes scraping
foundation,
and chemical peeling.
It's
sand
probably
blasting.
lead-based.
yeah.
Sand
You're gonna have to
blasting.
sandblast it.
Not only that, foundation needs to be shored up on it too. I
What
mean,
foundation? Those cinder blocks it's sitting on?
oh, it is sinking. Okay, I just
Haul it down to the railroad tracks and push it out on Norfolk Southern Spur.
Although,
drop it into the water.
Sell it for scrap metal.
actually, there's a possibility that if we put it up for sale, there are a lot of rail buffs out there that would consider buying it, I would think.
Well, something we can
Put it on
discuss,
eBay.
something
I'm
we can
telling you.
discuss in the CIP, so, move on.
Okay, moving on, so the last line item is the capital improvement funds. These funds are basically, as they say, these are the funds that are organically generated through the operational budget. That 8,608 that you see there, in theory, is the excess that the additional revenue have created or any of the modifications. This is different from what you're seeing in front of you because as we moved throughout the night through each line item, we adjusted the amounts. So it's right here.
Meeting amount from that 2/7.
Yep. So it's right there.
Can we jump up a line item real quick? I have a question for council. Blight mitigation, I mean, do we want to continue to keep 40,000 in there?
Well, if we're gonna actually do something, yes. Question is, are we gonna actually do something?
Yeah, it's needed.
An approach we can think about is, depending what happens staffing, there could now be more time allocated within staffing to go forward with creating a blight mitigation plan and going through the steps. I mean, it certainly takes time, it takes public noticing, it takes working with the property owners. But if this council's interested in doing it, we can certainly do so, but do we need to leave it for discussion?
If you're gonna address some of the serious problems that we've got in town, yeah.
Yeah, because 40 wouldn't be enough if we addressed some of the real serious problems.
Just doing the administrative part of it's gonna probably end up running 40 grand, because you're gonna probably pay a hefty amount in legal bills.
Yeah.
But would all of those come out of this line item?
You would charge off the legal expenditure to the blight mitigation, yes.
You're saying that if we have a staff member that's assigned 8 hours per week towards this, would that be charged to it?
Yeah. Part of their staff responsibility. I mean, you could track it in terms of what your actual cost is, but in terms of charging it off against this account line item, no.
What's this line item intended to do, though?
Pay for the expenditures of either
Property liens,
property,
actually.
addressing physical repairs, cleanup, yard maintenance, any legal issues, filing of papers, liens, whatever. That's what that 40,000 would be charged or taxed against. So it's not only for the actual labor incurred, but for your administrative and legal expenses to do it. It's not very much, no, but we need to start doing something, because there are some miserable properties in there. I mean, there are properties we should have addressed a long time ago with this, but,
Yeah.
I mean, once you start doing one, then you're committed.
So what was the
right.
point of your question, Emily?
If we wanted to back it down to 30,000
In lieu of,
40.
no, in lieu of staff members doing some of the work, or what?
We kind of talk about it every year, and when it comes to it, staffing needs are elsewhere, and staffing is, we're pretty busy.
I think a bigger issue is it requires our focus on it, and we're keeping so many plates spinning and putting so many fires that we haven't had the chance to address it. And hopefully that will change this year.
So I just wanted to make sure it was still a goal and an objective of the council that we work through this, and if we are, do we need that much?
Because that is a big, you guys know, it's a big chunk of money.
It's a big chunk, but from what Bob is saying, if we continue in the direction that we're going, we're gonna need it.
Yep, and if we don't spend it, I mean, it's still money there that's available, right? The thing is, if you want to back up if you want to give RARB any teeth,
They've got to have the funding to be
you
able to
need
pursue it, yes.
yeah, you need the funding for it. And this is at least supporting the funding for it, whether it gets spent or not.
I just think we need to do something. That's just,
Oh, I'd love to do something.
But I think to Emily's
Matter of
point,
finding time.
if I'm hearing her correctly, it's been in this same number's been in a budget for the last 5 years,
Yeah, probably.
and I don't think it's ever been used, has it?
Yeah, I think we came down from 50 grand a couple of years back.
we just need to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So what's that gonna take?
Us
Time and
deciding-
effort.
Us deciding that something has risen to the level that it needs to be addressed, and I'm there on several properties.
Knowing Emily enough, though, I think she has designs on the other money. I'm not sure, but I'm just speculating. So the question
It's a
is,
part-time social person.
so,
I guess looking at all of our notes on everything we've said, we're gonna address it in CIP, we're gonna address it in CIP. I think we need to take into consideration how much money are we actually gonna have in CIP to play with this next year.
Well, we're not gonna
and
get everything
gonna have
done in
enough.
1 year in the CIP, it's just not gonna happen.
Certainly not, but starting with some of the plans, getting an assessment on the park building, having someone who's a professional come in and do that and start that work,
Yeah, we're gonna burn through it in a hurry.
So if we were to, find a little more money elsewhere that we're not necessarily utilizing. to
This isn't
best
markup
its
yet.
productivity.
Markup's where the cuts come.
I mean, is it prudent to maybe make a reduction to do that now and then make an adjustment later if in fact we're going to
Another
use it?
hill I'm not gonna die on if you wanna cut it. There are things that we need to address. There are properties that we need to address.
If council were up for the discussion, maybe we drop it to 30 and then we start taking the action. Because I mean, even in talking through a lot of what the action is, it's a long waiting period. We have to start with proper noticing and I mean, that's, I forget the exact dates, but I think it's like you have to give them 30 days to respond. So it is a lengthy process. just
And then
to
as
get
soon as we
going.
notice them, it's gonna go to legal.
Right.
Yep.
So your front-end costs are gonna be loaded on the admin side.
Is this something that we could talk about on Thursday and we can bring it back to everybody?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
It's fine with me.
Fine with it.
Well, even though I'm not going to be here Thursday, but.
Pile it on
But
my
I'll
plate,
try,
thanks a
I'll
lot.
try and
Pile
pick up
it
the
on
phone
the,
and call in, because I've got to go to New York tomorrow, so.
I need to be meeting on Thursday, 10 a.m., everything you're discussing.
Yeah, it's a
What,
day
the finance
event.
meeting? No, it's gonna be 2 o'clock.
Roberto, are you finished?
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to share with you guys is that though we are taking the allowance of the ARPA funds, I am going to always show it separate from the budget, and only as we use it. So I'll always keep it separate. Right now it's up here because we are going to take $209,600 to continue the project right now. Obviously that can go up, but just wanted to show you that.
And what's the 209 for, the sidewalk? Is
Yes, that is
okay.
ARPA funds being moved over from deferred into the actual budget.
Okay.
So it's part of that. And that is it.
Yes. I move to adjourn.
Next steps. Monday?
Got a motion? Okay, finally a second. All in favor? Joe second that. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
We ran out of
Okay.
energy, I had no idea.
Yeah, I think we're done.
So we're gonna set the rates and everything at which meeting? The May meeting?